Good afternoon. We are back in session just after 1 o'clock, and we are beginning with a proclamation celebrating National Agriculture Day by Councilmembers Balcom, Lukey, and myself. I believe Councilmember Sales joining as well.
Come on down. If you're here for Ag Day, we'd love to have you. Feel free.
Fill on in.
Tall farmers in the back, please. Come on down. Someone has to stay in the audience to clap, okay? Okay, great. Good. Okay, good. You can count on the Poolsville guys. Okay. So, welcome everyone. I'm Marilyn Balcom. I represent District 2, which I'm so very proud. A large portion of the Ag Reserve is in my district, which means I represent a large number of farmers, and I'm so pleased. Welcome to National Agriculture Day. This year's theme is Growing a Climate for Tomorrow. And the only way that we can do that is to make sure that our farmers are successful and economically viable. And so we are partners with you, the farmers, to make sure that that happens. As the industry that actually feeds the nation, it's important that we celebrate National Agricultural Day to recognize and celebrate all farmers, farm workers, and other agricultural workers who do so much to make our nation strong, fuel our economy, and steward our lands. And I also just want to mention this is National Women's Month, Women's History Month, and to all the women farmers, thank you for being here. So thank you. Did you want to say a few words? Yeah. Okay. Just brief, sure.
And thank you, Councilmember Balcom. And I represent the other portion of the Ag Reserve that is not in Maryland's district, falls in District 7, which is my district, and I'm very proud to represent. This is our 51st celebration of Agricultural Producers Day, yes?
Yes.
And it's important at this time of year, just as with Women's History Month, where I think it helps highlight important people in our history who have done things over time and to help inspire the next generation of young women leaders, that we take this time to reflect on the past and our agricultural past, our agricultural roots, and to help educate the community about agricultural production and the varieties of producers that we have, which we have so many here within our county, whether you're talking about table crops or our commodities farmers, our livestock producers, our beer farms, our wineries, and that we take time to honor that and each different nuance to that, and that people reflect a bit on where what they enjoy comes from, where what they need to live comes from. So that is my hope and my ask and my wish, that we highlight and elevate that, and we celebrate the forethought that we had here in Montgomery County to preserve our agricultural land for our food production. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. It's an honor to be able to really recognize and celebrate our amazing ag community in Montgomery County, not by chance, but by intentional choices to protect and preserve our agricultural community here in Montgomery County. It's been great to serve as council president, previously to represent about half of the agricultural reserve previously, and to serve currently as the chair of the Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee that oversees agriculture, and also as vice chair of the COG, Council of Governments Farm Committee. representing how important our agricultural community is, not just to Montgomery County, but to our region. We're talking about an industry in Montgomery County that represents an ag community that represents 10,000 employees, $281 million in economic output. That is really such an important part, an integral part, not just to our heritage as a community, but to our economy and to all of the families who are out there each and every day with their sweat and their effort and their energy, trying to make their businesses work, trying to make sure that we have food to eat and that our community is sustained. We're so grateful for you. We're so grateful to an Office of Agriculture with new leadership with Mike Scheffel, like Jeremy Crisp before him, who has continued the great partnership that we have here at the County Council, and look forward to continuing our partnership and continuing to make Montgomery County such a special place. And one of the main reasons why it is such a special place is because we have such a thriving agricultural community with the protection and preservation of the agricultural reserve, and with so many families and so many communities who are sacrificing each and every day to make sure that that continues.
Thank you to my colleagues, council members Balcom, Ludke, and President Friedson for organizing this event to recognize National Agriculture Day. Preserving Montgomery County's agricultural reserve is a critical priority of my SMART agenda. The reserve encompasses 93,000 acres and is a tremendous resource for our communities. It generates over $282 million for the county's economy and contributes to regional economic growth. All the farms and organizations present today played a crucial role in contributing to the success of the annual farm tour and harvest sale in July. Supporting the Ag Reserve is crucial for many reasons, and on the council, my colleagues and I are committed to better understanding the concerns of our farmers and learning how we can provide solutions. On National Agriculture Day, let us take a moment to appreciate all that agriculture does for our economy, for providing a safe, healthy, sustainable, and secure food supply, to creating jobs, promoting agritourism, and stimulating rural economies. Thank you to all the farmers and agriculture producers present today, and thank you to the Office of Agriculture, who have been doing excellent work under the new leadership of Director Mike Scheffel. Thank you.
We would like to have a couple farmers come and speak. We've got Doug Lecklider and Mike, if you come forward, say a few words.
Well, thank you for this opportunity I just found out about. But it is an honor and a privilege, and we're very thankful for the recognition. We are very protective of the Ag Reserve. It's been there for a long time, and this council, I hope, will continue to help us protect that area. It is, as long as it's economically viable, it will be there. And there's a great diversity of different farms there, each one with its own story and each one with its own, making their own history. And it is a place for farming, and we hope this council works with us to keep it that way, and they have. Thank you.
So my goal is only to not curse, so I'm going to try that right now by writing a speech, which I never do. I never write. I just read just off the cuff. So I'm going to try this for the first time. It is a privilege to accept the proclamation of National Ag Day on behalf of the county. Of all aspects of farming, I never considered that building relationships with my local government would be so important. The Office of Ag and the newly formed Office of Food System Resilience are prime examples of what can be achieved when our farms and our governments act together. The County Council's efforts to work with its farmers to improve the impact of farming is special. We farmers have been given access to the powers that be, and we feel as though we are heard when we speak. There is, however, plenty of work to be done. Access to affordable land and increasing food security with our locally grown food will continue to be the most significant obstacles for us to overcome here. There are no easy solutions, but knowing that we are working together to solve these challenges is reassuring. Our collective mission is to work to increase food production in our community. Food grown here for people who live here. I am thankful to be part of this amazing community and to celebrate National Ag Day with all of you.
I couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. So we're going to do a proclamation. I'm going to ask Councilmember Lutke to start us off.
Thank you. Whereas this year marks the 51st anniversary of National Agriculture Day, a day where we recognize and celebrate the rich and abundant contributions of our agricultural community, and whereas Montgomery County is a leader when it comes to agriculture and boasts a strong agricultural heritage and culture, and
whereas we have the highest percentage of farmland under agricultural land preservation of any county in the United States of America. Montgomery County is home to over 70, not by chance, but by choice. The county is home to over 70,000 acres of agriculturally assessed lands and over 500 farms that employ over 10,000 people. And whereas our agricultural producers contribute $281 million to our economy annually, and 80% of our farms produce crops for human consumption.
And whereas the agricultural community in Montgomery County demonstrates a commitment to this year's National Ag Day theme, agriculture, growing a climate for tomorrow, and whereas our farmers utilize best management practices that reduce greenhouse gas emissions, thus protecting our environment. The county aims to conserve farmland for future production, ensure continued high-quality food supply for its residents, and preserve the agricultural industry for all communities.
So I get to do the honors. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland hereby recognizes today as National Agricultural Day, a day where we honor the contributions of our agricultural community who work tirelessly enriching the livelihood of the entire county. We are committed to serving our agricultural producers with the same level of service that they demonstrate to the community every single day. And signed today. Thank you.
Thank you to our agricultural producers and everybody in our community who helps to make sure that we have food to eat. I'll just ask everybody to remain quiet as they make their way out of the hearing room. We appreciate it. It's a hearing room, but we don't necessarily need to hear you. So we appreciate it. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. We are now going to move on to proclamation recognizing Mom and Pop Small Business Day by Councilmember Sales and Councilmember Katz.
All right. Good afternoon. It's been a busy day of recognizing the good folks of our community. I am so happy to be here again. This is our second annual Mom and Pop Small Business Day, and I'm so glad my colleague and my council member is joining me for this special recognition. I wanted to invite all of our Mom and Pop small businesses up here. I see a few. Come on, Jeff. Yes, come on down. Come on down. As the daughter of a small business owner and a member of the county's newly created Economic Development Committee, I'm so proud to support our small businesses in Montgomery County. In Montgomery County, we ensure that mom and pop small businesses can thrive and succeed. More than 95% of our businesses located in Montgomery County have fewer than 50 employees. Additionally, there are 27,498 employer establishments, 118,612 non-employer establishments in the county, with many being self or family-run businesses. On Mom and Pop Small Business Day, which occasionally takes place officially takes place on March 29th, we commit to investing in these businesses that drive our economy and provide invaluable resources to our community. I wanted to thank entities like the Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation, the Montgomery County Business Center, and the Office of Procurement, who oversee many successful business programs that allocate more funding to small businesses in our communities. It's because of them that we have such a thriving small business sector in Montgomery County. So before we turn it over to a few of our special guests here today, I would like to invite my colleague, Councilmember Katz, to speak about the importance of the occasion. And then after he speaks, we'll turn it over to some of our small mom and pop business owners who are represented here today to provide a 30-second or less introduction telling us which business you represent, where you're located in the county, and the services or products that you offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Sales. It truly is an honor to recognize these small businesses. Councilmember Sales already mentioned the statistics about them. But in my case, I was the third generation owner of a small business in Gaithersburg. It was started by my grandparents in 1918. Some of the folks behind me, I actually know many generations involved with them because of it, and it certainly makes me feel a little older than what I used to feel when I see them. But owning a small business, and all the group behind me knows this, is really a 24/7 type of deal. It becomes part of you. And of course, it's part of your family as well. And small businesses play such an important, vital role, not just statistically, but in a vital role in the local economy and connect their community. And that's certainly what happened for my family and for so many other families. So I am very proud to stand here as part of a small business family. And I understand that by all of us making certain that our small businesses prosper, that they too can become larger businesses and help each and every one of us every day. And with that, you want to turn it over to, you're going to turn it over.
Okay. So I believe, do we have Wilson Dentistry? We'll start there. Come on, Dr. Wilson. It's a very special. Wilson's, yes.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. I'm Dr. Bob Wilson. This is my partner, my daughter, Dr. Rachel Wilson. We have a general dentistry practice in Gaithersburg, Maryland, that was started by my father in 1958 when he got out of the Army and came back to hometown Gaithersburg, bought an old house right on 355, built the office, opened up, and we still practice in that same location to this day. My daughter joined the practice in 1985, so...
No.
I'm sorry.
2018.
2018. I started in 1985.
Yes,
so thank you. That's why she's here today. So yeah, we're third generation also, and I got to say, I remember when I was a little kid getting my back-to-school clothes, going into Wilson's store and doing the shopping, and I think that highlights how important and how special those small businesses are, because there's nothing like shopping local and supporting local people. And even in this day and age, there's still a lot of things you can't get on Amazon, and you're much better to go to your mom and pop down the street. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you both for being there. I'll see you in 6 months. We also have Wade, Tyler, and Ben Butler from Butler's Orchard, who could not join us here today. Is Sarah and Annie Park from...
Hi, I'm Wade Butler from Butler's Orchard. My wife Angela is with me today. My 3 children, Tyler, Hallie, and Ben, are home taking care of the farm while we're here today. Wanted to say I'm appreciative to be in Montgomery County now in our 74th year. My mom and pop started our business in 1950, coming out of Silver Spring and Blair High School. So we've quite a transformation from their life to the life that we have now. But once again, we're very appreciative to the opportunities that we've been provided in this county to not only expand and operate Butler's Orchard, but as my children branch off into Dockwater Cidery to kind of further our legacy here in our enterprise, and we're just very happy to be here today. Thank you.
Okay, and now we're going to hear from Jeremy Butts from Windridge Vineyards. Robert.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, Robert Butts, Windridge Vineyards, second generation family farm, and I'm accepting this this proclamation on behalf of myself and my brothers, Jeremy, Tom, and Teddy. Windridge is a row crop farming. It's diversified into growing wine grapes and producing wine. And one of the things that I reflect back on now, having employees, where in the early days row crop farming was just sort of a family business, is that I enjoy giving a number of younger people their first job, but then also I can give a number of people a career as well. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about our business. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. And now we are going to have Miss Perez from Tacos Don Perez.
Hi, so we are here with Tacos Don Perez. We're a small Mexican taqueria that started from our driveway. We're able to open up our first location in Glenmont and a very recent one in Kensington. And so I have my dad here with me. He is the reason why it's called Tacos Don Perez. And my sister that's over here in the crowd, she is our cashier. So like you said, it is a very small family business. And we hope to open a third location in Rockville very soon. It is an honor to be here and to be able to serve the residents of Montgomery County as well as create employment. So thank you so much for the recognition. We are absolutely honored. Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, we have Marty Hollander from Crown Trophy.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Martin Hollander. I'm the owner of Crown Trophy in Gaithersburg. This is our 25th year in business. Crown's a franchise. It started from scratch, grew the business, and Montgomery County's been a great place to have a business. I grew up here, my wife grew up here, my kids, plus all the people that we've hired through the years, my son's friends, their family friends, and I have people working with me now for 15 years, and again, it's really an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. And now we're going to read the proclamation. Okay. Whereas Mom and Pop Business Day was founded in 1939 in Boston, Massachusetts by Margie and Rick Siegel, who wanted to honor the growth of their parents' dress shop from the ground up, despite tumultuous economic conditions. And
whereas mom and pop businesses signify a core aspect of the American dream, particularly for immigrant families who come to America in search of increased access to economic opportunity and mobility. And
whereas mom and pop business owners support the community, make shopping more personal, and provide a unique experience to consumers with fresh, innovative ideas in the marketplace. And
whereas more than 95% of businesses located in Montgomery County have fewer than 50 employees, there are 27,498 employer establishments and 118,612 non-employer establishments located in the county, with many being or family-run businesses. And
whereas the Montgomery County Council and the newly formed Economic Development Committee are dedicated to assisting mom and pop businesses through grant funding, training, and education courses, streamlined regulatory processes, business funding, and incentives. And
whereas mom and pop businesses have remained incredibly resilient throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, and they deserve our county's full support as an integral function of the local economy. Now therefore it be resolved that the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland hereby recognizes Mom and Pop Business Day as an essential day in Montgomery County. It's presented today, and it's signed by the Council President Andrew Friedson, Council Member Laurie Ann Sales, and myself. Congratulations and thank you for all you do.
Thank you to our mom and pop businesses. Thank you to our farm families and our farmers. Thank you to our farm families and farmers who are mom and pop businesses. And thank you to all of our women farmers and women-owned mom businesses, which we really appreciate as well. It's been a great day celebrating so much about Montgomery County that we are quite proud of here today. So with that, we are going to move on to a public hearing on an amendment to the FY 23 to 28 Capital Improvement Program and Special Appropriation Amendment to the FY 24 capital budget, Montgomery County Government, Department of Housing and Community Affairs, Nonprofit Preservation Fund in the amount of $19,999,000. The source of funds is loan repayment proceeds. Council action is scheduled for April 2nd, 2024. Those wishing to submit material for the council's consideration should do so by the close of business on March 26, 2024. Each registered speaker has 3 minutes to speak. I see that Jeffrey D. is here in the audience. Please join us. Very pleased about this item and look forward to hearing your testimony. Mr. D., when you're ready, you have 3 minutes.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And my name is Jeffrey D. I'm the president and CEO of Habitat for Humanity Metro Maryland. As you know, we're a nonprofit provider of affordable housing, working to provide equitable access to home ownership in Montgomery County. And I just briefly want to thank you, Council President Friedson, and the rest of the County Council for this. We earnestly support this special appropriation to fund the Nonprofit Preservation Fund at just under $20 million. We testified in support of this fund in July of 23, and we're thrilled to see it move forward. We wanted to thank all of you, especially the PHP Committee, DHCA, and HOC for their collaboration. And again, we want to thank the full council for your steadfast support of affordable housing. And I know you'd love for me to go on and use more time, but I'm going to stop there and just say thank you all for all you do.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here in person and appreciate all of your work to support affordable housing in Montgomery County. We are now going to move on to our next speakers who are virtual, starting with Chris Gillis.
Hi, good afternoon, councilors. I'm going to see if I can beat Jeffy's record for record quick testimony. So my name is Chris Gillis. I'm testifying on behalf of Montgomery Housing Partnership, or MHP. We are also strongly supporting the special appropriations of the capital budget, and hope you will too. I know the affordable housing community, especially nonprofit providers, were very eager to see the Nonprofit Preservation Fund launch soon, which will be administered by HOC. And that's it. That concludes my testimony. Thank you so much.
Appreciate that. Thanks to you and to MHP for all of your work. Let me turn it now to our final speaker on this item, Mary Kohler.
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Kohler, and I'm testifying on behalf of Montgomery Housing Alliance. MHA also strongly supports the amendment to the capital budget and special appropriation of nearly $20 million to the Nonprofit Preservation Fund. A diverse, vibrant, and economically robust Montgomery County is not possible if we cannot ensure that all residents have access to affordable homes. To meet this goal, we know we need an array of strategies and tools. A robustly funded NPF is one such important tool. The Housing Production Fund managed by HOC has proven a very successful model for increasing housing production, including affordable units in the county. The NPF offers a parallel model which will allow mission-driven nonprofit housing providers to preserve and produce more deeply affordable housing for some of the most vulnerable in our community. The special appropriation is a critical first investment in this important fund. As you take up the FY25 budget, we also urge you to support the county executive's request for additional resources for the NPF, which would bring the program's total funding to $50 million. We commend the PHP committee, especially Council President Friedson, DHCA, and HOC for their leadership and work to establish and capitalize the NPF. Together with the recently enacted amendments to the right of first refusal law, the NPF will provide ready resources to purchase and preserve affordable housing, allowing the county and nonprofit partners to stem further loss of affordable units and produce new units at the magnitude required to address growing need. We applaud the Council's ongoing commitment to housing issues, and we strongly urge you to support the special appropriation and continued strong funding for the NPF. Thank you so much for the opportunity to provide input.
Thank you. That was 9 minutes for 3 speakers, coming in 6.5 minutes under budget. So we appreciate that. Thank you to MHA for all of your collaboration and helping to develop a program that we know is going to work and to serve the needs in our community. And with that, those are all the speakers that we have for this item. So that public hearing is now closed. We're going to move on to item 11. This is a public hearing on supplemental appropriation 2460 to the FY24 operating budget, Montgomery County Government, Department of Health and Human Services, United States Department of Housing and Urban Development Continuum of Care Program Grant in the amount of $527,733. The source of funds is a federal grant. Council action is scheduled immediately following this public hearing. We have no speakers registered for this public hearing, so this public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to approve supplemental appropriation 2460?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Lukey, seconded by Councilmember Katz. All those in favor, please raise your hand. That is unanimous among all those present, and supplemental appropriation 2460 is approved. The next item is the introduction, work session, and action on a resolution to approve Montgomery County Department of Transportation Title VI Implementation Plan Update FY 24 to 26, Title VI Compliance Monitoring Report, Title VI Public Participation Plan, and Title VI Language Assistance Plan. This plan was submitted to the council by the county executive on March 8th. Because the state deadline for submission is March 31st, the council will need to waive the rules of procedure, Rule 7D, in order to approve this in time so that the county does not miss out on this available funding. Is there a motion to waive Rule 7D?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Fonte Gonzalez, seconded by Councilmember Lukey. All those in favor, please raise your hand. That is unanimous among all those present. Let me call on Chair Glass and then to staff as needed.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Appreciate the council's fast tracking of this so that we have our application in time. This is a resolution to affirm Montgomery County Department of Transportation's support and adherence to Title VI, which is the federal government's non-discrimination code. Every 3 years, recipients of public transportation funding from the Federal Transit Administration and the Maryland Transit Administration are required to develop policies and programs and practices that ensure that federal and state transit dollars are used in a non-discriminatory manner. And we'll hear a little bit more about those programs, but it affirms our support for the racial equity law that we have here, our work within equity emphasis areas, and the work to make sure that everybody has equal access and opportunity to public transportation. So I'll yield back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Anything to add, Mr. Kenny? Mr. McLaughlin?
Nothing to add, no.
Great. Well, thank you for all of your work. I don't see any colleagues interested in speaking or commenting. So with that, is there a motion to approve the resolution from the department? So moved by the chair, seconded by Councilmember Sales. All those in favor, please raise your hand. That is unanimous among all those present. Thank you. We're now going to move on expeditiously, as we have of late, which is great, to agenda items 13, 14, and 15, which is a continuation of our review of the FY 25 to 30 Capital Improvements Program. Agenda item 13 is proposed action on an amendment to the FY 23 to 28 CIP and supplemental appropriation 2453 to the FY 24 capital budget, Montgomery County Government, Department of Public Libraries, Clarksburg Library, in the amount of $6,830,000. The source of funds is general obligation bonds. The Education and Culture Committee recommends approval. I can turn it over to you for just this item, or we can include this with the next item as well. It's up to you as chair.
However you'd like to proceed.
We can do them together if you think they're related. Fine. I think that they are.
Yeah.
So because they're related, we'll also introduce item 14 as well. The Education and Culture Committee has made a recommendation on that as well. So I will turn it to you for item number 14 as well, and you can walk us through the recommendations in tandem if you'd like.
Sounds good, Ian. I think we're up on deck for 15 too. So, but that's a different, not library related. Sure, sounds good. Just wanted to reiterate. I've said this in committee, but not at full council. You know, with colleagues and agency partners in the public around the CIP, at least the education and culture portion, and I hope this will bleed over to others, that we're trying to, a new thing this year, do truth in advertising and what is actually going to happen in the CIP and when. And in trying to right size it, and it will, in some cases, create difficult conversations for some who we all want our public buildings to be available as soon as possible because they provide such great service, but it also requires us to be fiscally responsible for as far as maintenance and systemics as well. So just wanted to say that at the beginning. thankfully, this project is one that we're going to keep on track because it's been in the queue for a long time. And so this is related to the Clarksburg Library project, and the E&C committee recommended $6.8 million appropriation and the amendment to the CIP Clarksburg project. This deals with the site selection, the new site selection, and also funding for that. It allows the county to evaluate and purchase that site, which is very close walking distance. If we even talked about a walking path and other items to this site location. We were joined by Councilmembers Balcom and I think Councilmember Stewart for that, Vice President Stewart. And we received, many of us have received messages from residents about keeping this library on track. As the former lead for libraries, and I know our current lead for libraries, Councilmember Make, shares the passion of getting this done. And we know some are not happy with the alternative location, but we're confident, based on, the committee was confident, based on all the information presented, that this will be get high use and have many benefits to the community and the amenities in the area. So it was a 3-0 recommendation. The second, which we're taking together, was the library's 5 CIP projects, which include approving their CIP request, which was for Clarksburg Library, Chevy Chase Library in redevelopment, Noyes Library for Young Children, their rehabilitation and renovation, the 21st Century Library enhancements level of effort, and the very successful and modeled library refurbishment level of effort, which is now happening in our recreation departments as well. So those are the 2 items. They were both 3-0. We recommended the second one without any changes as well. And then we have Director Vassallo and council staff if they're, did I miss anything? Okay. Director Vassallo, would you like to add anything?
Anita Vassallo, Director, Montgomery County Public Libraries. Thank you, Councilmember Gelando. I think that we all know and agree that the Clarksburg Library project is well overdue, and so we have nothing else to add except that we are very pleased that the Council E&C Committee was a 3-0 vote to go forward with both the supplemental that will allow us to purchase a site that we feel will be a better one for the community, and then the rest of our CIP projects, which are so important to us as a forward-facing Department of County Government. Thank you.
Turn it back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you. So we have a recommendation, unless we have any colleagues who wish to add anything, that District Councilman will take yes for an answer. Very happily, I can see. We can take up these 2 libraries items together. All those in favor of the committee recommendation for libraries, please raise your hand. That is unanimous among all those present. And we will move on to item 15 on the agenda and go back to you and the Education and Culture Committee, which has a recommendation on this item as well for Montgomery College. So I will turn to you on that. I know that the college president was hoping to join us. He is not here yet. He can't be here until a little bit later, but we're going to continue moving through the agenda, and just note that his intention was to be here, and we're running a little bit early, which he is aware of.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, and again, I think they also are going to take yes for an answer here. We all love Montgomery College, and thank Dr. Williams and his team in their absence today. The E&C committee took up their CIP projects, and we also had requested, because obviously, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're trying to balance the CIP and do our part from our committee, that the college provide non-recommended reductions for consideration. There was strong agreement among the committee that the East County campus is a key priority as well for that part of our county, as well as systemic projects and renovations to the Rockville Theater Arts Library, which I think colleagues got some information on that. We had follow-up information to see if there could be an additional phasing or kind of staging of that Rockville Theater Arts Library project, and so that was some of this information, and we're going to work our ways through that. But the committee is recommending $472.4 million for the CIP, which includes an adjustment to the theater arts project and increases for the technology project to keep technology up to snuff. So, Mr. Krupe, or anything to add?
I'll just note that the additional information received that was not included in the packet is the update on the East County Campus project, the alternative expenditure schedules for the Rockville Theater Arts Building renovation, which should have been provided to you all via email and in hard copy packets that are on your desks there, as well as the revised project description form for the college-wide library renovations, which had not been received during the committee session, which would simply delay some of the construction funding till later years.
We'll welcome up the president of Montgomery College. We were just saying that you weren't able to make it, but somehow you got here in warp speed, noting following all traffic laws, and we hope. But thank you for joining us, and just want to acknowledge that he was here.
No, thank you, and as usual, Montgomery College on time, under budget.
There you go.
So, I made an analogy in committee that I have 4 children. I love them all dearly, but some of them are, barely ask for anything. So when they do, I tend to be sympathetic. And Montgomery College has consistently been in that category of using, in light of your operating request, which is the same services requests. We just appreciate you being a great partner. I was just teeing up. So let me ask our staff. So how should we handle this since we got some new information today? The committee had suggested that we move forward with both the technology project and the Rockville Theater Arts and keep East County on track. I don't think we're changing that recommendation, but in light of the phasing options, how do you suggest we handle that? Or do we need to handle that here today? Mr. Howard or Ms. Groupie, whoever.
So I think the only decision that the committee had not made would have been on the library's delay. The other options I think the council could consider, but I'll defer to Mr. Howard.
Yeah, thank you. The other options that the college provided additional information on is in line with what the committee discussed in the committee's recommendation. So, of course, as with all CIP items, everything at the end, all the pieces need to fit, and so staff would work with the recommendations of the council to see what could be fit in with the kind of revisions suggested by the college to see how that helps or doesn't help in certain years and all the puzzle pieces.
Perfect, got it. So the recommendation remains unanimous in that we would like to move these forward, realizing the phasing and the staging could change depending on how we fit all the pieces of the pie together. So I would, Dr. Williams, or do you have anything to add?
Just thank you, and appreciative always of the time. Thank you, Chair Joando. Thank you, Council President Friedson, entire County Council. Really quickly, I'll just share what I think heard, but I would be remiss if I didn't take an opportunity in front of everyone to thank you for everything you do. Thank you for your support of Montgomery College. We are up in enrollment, 4% over last fall, 5% over last spring, which is an increase over 2 springs, as you heard from ESC Chair Joando. We are asking for maintenance of effort, so there's more good news in terms of our operating budget and really that conversation around really just engaging and thanking the committee for moving forward and the recommendation in terms of the CIP, because we're really looking for that theater arts building. And just to kind of share in front of the entire council, this is an academic building, and I'm sure some of you have been there for events, and you've been there for summer dinner theater, but it is an academic building in desperate need of renovation. We're not asking for a new building, as we've shared with the committee. We're being very price conscious and budget appropriate as we are. Thank you again. And so we're just asking that this finds itself in the CIP so that we can move forward, so that we can not displace students and our faculty and staff. This does have an academic program, an arts program that resides there in the building. So again, however you can find a way to make this fit in the CIP, we'd be deeply appreciative, and I want to be mindful of the council's time, so I'll stop there.
No, thank you, as always. Mr. President, so it's a 3-0 recommendation to keep these items in the CIP.
Okay, I don't see any comments from colleagues, so we have a recommendation. We appreciate Montgomery College and our college president for being here and joining us and all the work that you do. And with that, we have a 3-0 recommendation. All those in favor of this recommendation for the college, please raise your hand. That is unanimous among all those present. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Council members. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Colleagues, we are flying through the agenda today. We're going to recess until 2:30 when our colleagues from Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission will be here a little early, and we will go through our semi-annual. So we are now in recess for the next 35 minutes until 2:30.
afternoon. We are live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon again, and welcome back. We are back in session as the County Council at 2:30. We're here for the semi-annual with the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, the Planning Board, and our Planning and Parks staff. I am going to turn it over to our Planning Board Chair. I know he has a few colleagues to introduce here, as well as the teams from both the Parks Department and the Planning Department. And so I will turn it over to you, Chair Harris, and allow you to do the honors, and welcome, and appreciate you being here.
Hey, good afternoon, Council President Friedson and members of the Council. Artie Harris, Chair of the Planning Board. For the record, I just wanted to thank you for giving us this opportunity to share the recent work of the Planning Board and the Planning and Parks Departments. Since our last semi-annual presentation, both departments welcome new directors. I'm so happy to have Mitty Figueredo leading Montgomery Parks and Jason Sartori leading Montgomery Planning. You will hear from them shortly as they go into more detail about their department's initiatives and work programs. Before I provide some highlights from the board, I want to focus on this beautiful image you're seeing. Are you seeing it? There you go. Okay, oh yeah, this beautiful image too. This beautiful image you're seeing taken from Broad Run. Recently the board unanimously designated the Royce Hansen Conservation Park at Broad Run. This 473-acre park named for Royce Hansen as a replacement for the park next to the former headquarters in Silver Spring. The park honors Dr. Hansen's efforts to create the agriculture reserve, support resource conservation across the county, provide direction to the Legacy Open Space program, and create one of the premier planning departments in the country during his tenures as planning chair. This park reflects the diversity of our system, ensuring there's open space for all types of users. This park will provide a sanctuary for residents to hike, bird watch, and more. We look forward to welcoming everyone to the Conservation Park later this year. Slide 2, please. The Planning Board's 5 members bring a wide variety of expertise and perspectives to their jobs. Thank you to my fellow commissioners for joining us here today. I have Commissioner Petawim and Bartley behind me, and I have Commissioners Hedrick and Linden online today. All 5 of us are committed to asking the right questions to make master plans, policies, studies, and development projects the best they can be, so they better serve everyone in the county. Together we represent the future of our organization while also representing the diversity of our county. Our work is dependent on collaborating with our wider community, ensuring that all people we represent are engaged and heard. Planning Board members are committing to getting out into the community to hear what people think. We've held joint meetings with the Board of Education and the Historic Preservation Board, and we're working on scheduling additional joint meetings with other stakeholders. We have met with civic associations, nonprofit partners, local chambers, individual residents, and more to ensure that our work is informed by the personal and professional experiences of our county residents. I pride myself in being a great listener and applying what I've learned to the decisions we make each week at our Planning Board meetings. And I want to thank all of you for being great partners in community engagement these past 6 months. Next slide, please. In collaborating and listening over the last year, we have leaned into our expertise in many areas to provide consultation and advice to state representatives as they move their legislative initiatives forward. We worked very closely with many delegates prior to the session to provide counsel and advice on issues ranging from land use to transportation and housing to open space. This includes ensuring state legislation needed for us to complete the development review process work group recommendations was introduced. And we learned just this morning that 2 of Delegate Lopez's bills were voted favorably by the House and have moved over to the Senate. During state session, we have also been called upon to provide additional guidance on these areas and to ensure our expertise on issues related to renaming streets that have been named for Confederate figures, implementation of forest conservation banks, and more. We will continue to work with our delegation through the rest of this session and have already begun conversations with several legislative delegates on how to support their initiatives for the next season. Next slide, please. We will continue to build on our expertise and experience to actualize the board's priorities we outlined last fall. We are doing this through restarting the attainable housing strategies and expect to forward our recommendations to council this June. We are updating the growth and infrastructure policy and will forward that to you by the beginning of August. Jason will provide further information on these studies shortly. We are in the process of planning a Thursday speaker series to learn from experts across the country to ensure that we expand development opportunities and continue to bring a variety of housing types to the county, and we look forward to you coming to our home to listen to some of these speaker series. The board is also looking forward to working closely with Parks over the coming months on continuing to expand the Long Branch Initiative and implementing the Wheaton Regional Plan through development of the Action Sports Park. You will hear more about these from Mitty. We're also expanding our regional coordination through additional engagement with our Council of Governments, organizing conversations around the region, board to board, and working across jurisdictions to bring additional federal and state funds to the county and from the state. The Planning Board is deeply proud of what the Commission has accomplished, and we are excited about what's next to ensure that Montgomery County thrives for all of your constituents. At the same time, we know big change takes investment. Proposed budget cuts jeopardize this work and the county's future success. On behalf of my Planning Board colleagues, the Planning Department, and Montgomery Parks, I look forward to working with each of you and the council staff to fully fund our programs. Now I'll turn it over to Jason, followed by Mitty, for their recent accomplishments and what is on the horizon if we're fully funded. Thank you.
Thank you, and good afternoon. For the record, I'm Jason Sartori, Montgomery County Planning Director. It's great to be here for my first semi-annual presentation to the council since becoming the director last fall. I'm really looking forward to continuing our great partnership as we serve the residents of Montgomery County together. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge our team who is here with me today: Deputy Director Robert Cronenberg, Division Chiefs Elza Heisel-McCoy, Kerry Sanders, Patrick Butler, Dave Ansbacher, Christina Sorrento, Karen Warnick, Gary McCarthy, and Vince Hugh. And from the Director's Office, we have Atul Sharma, and Nick Frymark is here from our Communications Division. The Planning Department is really proud of the county's new general plan that the Council approved in 2022. When I talk about Thrive Montgomery 2050, I often refer to it as the Planning Department's North Star, the document that guides our daily work and our work program. It provides a long-range vision for future growth in Montgomery County, but not just where we want to grow, but how we want to grow, with an emphasis on its main themes of racial equity and social justice, environmental resilience, and economic competitiveness woven throughout the entire plan. In fact, Thrive has been recognized by the Moore administration for its contributions to the planning field. In December, Maryland Department of Planning Secretary Rebecca Flora visited Wheaton to present us with the 2023 Sustainable Growth Award. In doing so, she called Thrive Montgomery 2050, called for Thrive Montgomery 2050 to be the statewide model for how other jurisdictions should operate and update their general plans. In many ways, Thrive did not establish new concepts. It was our first comprehensive update of the general plan in more than 50 years. And over that time, the industry and the planning field had changed significantly, as had our own practices here and policies here in Montgomery County. So to a certain extent, Thrive simply captures what we were already prioritizing as a county, but it pushes us a little further by directly addressing issues that our general plan never had before, like equity. Secretary Flora was especially impressed with how the plan embeds racial equity and social justice into every part of how we plan the communities of the future. And so we are really proud of this accomplishment, not only for what it says about the vision we've prepared for the county, but for the recognition of the work we are already doing in the department and here at the council. I want to also extend a note of appreciation to Council President Friedson, Vice President Stewart, and Council Members Fanny Gonzalez and Lukey for joining us for the award presentation. With Thrive's unanimous adoption by the previous council, I believe that we have a clear mandate to incorporate it in all that we do at the planning department. And more importantly, to work with partner agencies in county and state government and with the county council to implement the many things that Thrive calls for us to be doing. We cannot be content with the status quo if Thrive calls for us to pursue a better quality of life for all. We cannot become complacent and rest on the achievements of past generations. We must find innovative ways to integrate equity, environmental resilience, and economic competitiveness in all of our efforts. And we cannot pretend that doing things the same way we have for decades is going to yield the desired outcomes that are envisioned in Thrive. We must continuously adapt our methods, our approaches, our analyses, and our recommendations to reflect the bold vision in Thrive, which calls for compact communities and corridor-focused growth. And so I've been challenging our staff to be bold in addressing Thrive concepts in their work. And I hope that you will continue to be as well as our plans and studies come before you. In order to help with this, we've embarked on a couple of related important efforts. The first, focus on Thrive implementation, has two parts. We're conducting an internal monthly educational workshop series that we've called Time to Thrive. In each workshop, we do a deep dive into the Thrive text, dissecting each chapter and discussing how it impacts the work we do on a daily basis and how it should influence our work and our desired work program. Earlier today, right before this, we all came from one of these sessions where we talked about the complete communities and compact growth chapters. We had about 115 members of planning and park staff participating in intense discussions about what those chapters mean for us. The second component of Thrive implementation gets right to the heart of it. It's the preparation of a Thrive implementation strategy, in which we're trying to identify the key objectives in Thrive and the actions necessary to accomplish them. While we're starting this internally, we certainly will be engaging other county agencies in this effort, and we'll be bringing the strategy to the council as well. You see, Thrive is much more than a document that our master plans or development applications need to be in conformance with. It is a call to action for our staff and for our county. The second major effort currently underway is the preparation of a 5-year strategic plan for the department. Our work serves as blueprints for the county's growth and development. To continue to plan for the county's future effectively, we must intentionally plan for the future of our own organization. In the coming weeks, we will launch a multi-pronged strategic planning process to chart our department's course for the next 5 years. And not unlike our own master planning efforts, the strategic planning process will leverage data, staff and external stakeholder input, and best practices to create a comprehensive roadmap for our work. This effort will be facilitated by external consultants and coordinated internally by my office. As part of this effort, we'll be asking if we are appropriately structured, staffed, and budgeted to do the work that Thrive calls for us to be doing. And as you can imagine, your participation in this effort, again, will be crucial to its success, so we'll be sure to keep you updated along the way. One major effort last year was, as the chair mentioned, was the Development Review Process Work Group. After a 5-month public process, the work group reached consensus on 22 recommendations to speed up the process to get projects in the ground faster without cutting corners. I'd like to thank Robert and Christina for leading the department's efforts on this, and also thank council staff Pam Dunn and Livu Nadeau for their active participation in the work group as well. Some recommendations require action by only Montgomery Planning or the Planning Board, while others rest with our fellow work group partners. I'm pleased to share we are already making progress, meaningful progress, on several of the recommendations that are within our purview, and I just wanted to highlight a few of them today. Recommendations 1, 2, and 3 are changes to state law that are currently being pursued in Annapolis, and our team in planning has been quite active in advocating for their adoption, along with a number of other bills. HB 989 and HB 1003 relate to how plats are approved and recorded and can save applicants several weeks in the plat process. As Chair Harris mentioned, both of these bills were unanimously passed out of the House yesterday and are advancing to the Senate now. HB 1309, which is still working its way through committee, would limit SHA's review time of development applications to 30 days, which is consistent with what our local agency review times are. Next, the department believes deeply in empowering community members and stakeholders with the information they need to engage in the planning process. Aligned with this belief and with the work group's fifth recommendation, we've launched the Development Review newsletter to let stakeholders and community members know when a developer provides notice that it is submitting a development application, and it also lets the community know when the developer will host a community meeting about the project. Following today's briefing, we will send each of you information on how community members can sign up for this newsletter so that you can encourage people to do so in your own distribution lists. Recommendation 14 called for an update to the lead agency MOU, which identifies which agencies are responsible for the review of different aspects and elements of a development application. We are currently working with partner agencies to arrange the team that will work on this important update in the coming months. And Montgomery Planning is also actively pursuing recommendation number 19 to create a planning academy, and this one is one that really actually energizes me. This is where community members can participate in training modules to learn how the zoning, planning, and permitting processes work. We are building the framework and curriculum for this project, starting to reach out to partner agencies, and expect to share more news about that soon. Not just how those processes work, but how they can engage in those processes as well. The work group also agreed that we needed to update our noticing signage that is posted in front of a proposed development site. This new sign template shown here is being rolled out this week. It provides clearer information, a rendering of the proposed project, and a QR code to help community members quickly and easily access up-to-date information about the project and how they can get involved. Back in December, we were really excited to find out that the Biden administration gave us a grant to develop new design standards for parking facilities. During our research for the pedestrian master plan, we came across data that showed that 20% of all crashes involving pedestrians in Montgomery County happen in parking lots. These new guidelines will be a go-to resource for designing or retrofitting parking lots and parking garages for safe multimodal access. The guidelines will provide a user-friendly framework for developers, engineers, planners, transportation staff, policymakers, and community members so that we can make informed decisions about safety features, lot layouts, services, amenities, and green infrastructure. We'd like to give a shout out to the US DOT and our congressional delegation for their work in securing us $120,000 to advance this project. To fully fund the study, we need to provide $30,000 in local matching funds, and which is part of our FY25 budget request. So we all know and can agree that Montgomery County is a great place to live, work, and visit. But we also know the county faces some economic challenges. One of the more serious problems is that our median income has remained relatively stagnant, not keeping up with inflation since 2005. And as we've noted previously, our county had the slowest growth rate in per capita personal income from 2004 to 2021 among 30 similarly sized counties across the country. But these top-line statistics don't really tell the full story. Admittedly, there are multiple factors that come into play and underlie this stagnancy. But one thing we examined is how Montgomery County's population has changed across the income distribution. And that's what we're seeing in this analysis here. This was a topic of a recent 3-part blog series by Ben Kraft, a member of our research team. Quick side note, if you haven't seen our blog post, our blog site, it's called The Third Place. You should definitely check it out. It's chock full of interesting information that, from a planning perspective, whether it's urban design, county history, transit accessibility, housing. It's a really valuable resource. It's called the Third Place. So, but back to this graph. Specifically, between 2005 and 2022, our low-income population, those earning up to 3 times the poverty level, or about $83,000 up to $83,000, grew faster than the other groups. Our high-income population, those earning more than 5 times or 5 times or more the poverty level, or about $139,000, also grew a fair amount. But our middle-income population shrank. Our income-based population shifts that you see here are the most pronounced in the region and among the most pronounced in the country. And here's another way to look at this. Despite our high-income population growing in absolute terms, it's holding steady at 52% of our population. Our low-income population has grown from 25% to 30% of our population. Meanwhile, our middle-income population has decreased in overall share from 23 to 18%. So while this is important to know and understand from an economic perspective, it's also really relevant to our housing conversation. To me, this clearly demonstrates our need to provide more housing, affordable housing for the growing number of lower income households, but also that we are not providing enough market rate housing attainable to middle income households, forcing them to look elsewhere to find housing. Another way to look at this, as Ben highlights in one of his blogs, suggests that the county is no longer a place where people can climb the income ladder. So what are we going to do about this? Let's talk a little bit about the housing work we're doing in 2024. The Attainable Housing Strategies Project is identifying ways to expand housing options across the county in order to meet the county's diverse housing needs. It's also intended to unravel the exclusionary aspects of the county's single-family zones and create more opportunities for home ownership and for more households in more parts of the county. We've recently restarted this initiative, briefing the board on our past efforts last month, and then on Thursday the board is holding 2 listening sessions with the community to receive feedback on the housing situation and on our draft recommendations. Planning staff will hold a series of work sessions with the board this spring, and we intend to brief the PHP committee on the board's recommendations in June. Also this year, the planning department has been working with the PHP committee. We held a work session just yesterday to identify local housing targets for 22 planning areas across the county. Not only truly attainable targets for 2030, but also more aspirational targets for 2040 and 2050 that are based on the vision for growth outlined in Thrive. And of course, there's the update to the Growth and Infrastructure Policy, otherwise known as the GIP or the GIP. It needs to be updated every 4 years, and later this year you will receive the 2024 update for your review and approval. The GIP ensures the best available tools are used to test whether infrastructure like transportation and schools can support a proposed development. A primary goal of this update, and really every update, is to ensure that the policy is aligned with the county's priorities and the current growth context. Speaking of schools, I want to highlight some recent efforts to strengthen our partnership with the county's school system. Last fall, Planning and Parks entered into an MOU with MCPS that articulates our various planning efforts and the roles and responsibilities of each agency in those. The MOU identifies when we at the Commission will engage MCPS in our master planning and park planning processes, and how MCPS will seek our involvement in their school capital and project efforts. Through other collaborative efforts, our transportation staff is working with MCPS to once again conduct the student travel survey to better understand how students from each school travel to and from school. Our mutual desire here is to conduct this survey annually so that we can understand trends in how our roads and built environment impact how students get to school. Also, our historic preservation supervisor, Rebecca Ballo, has led a series of really successful presentations to MCPS students and staff about the county's rich LGBTQ+ history. These were really well-received presentations. Hundreds of students, middle school and high school students and teachers attended these sessions, and we're looking for to schedule some time for Rebecca to brief the council on this as well. Finally, our Reforest Montgomery program has partnered with MCPS to increase the county's tree canopy by planting trees on school properties. So far, we've planted trees at Oakview Elementary and this week at Tacoma Park Elementary. The flyer shown here, provided to students at the schools, touts the benefits of trees and is available in 8 different languages on our website. As you know, Montgomery Planning also has a number of master plans underway that will reach major milestones for communities in Tacoma Park, just this morning at the straw vote, Clarksburg, Great Seneca, and parts of Wheaton and Silver Spring. The photo in this slide is of the Great Seneca area at the intersection of Key West Avenue and Medical Center Drive. The area is vital to our life sciences sector, and the plan's main focus is on strengthening economic competitiveness in the industry by encouraging mixed-use development and right-sizing our roads for more walkability. And this plan will be going to the Planning Board on Thursday for their first work session. Other areas of our work program include updating the county's incentive zoning policy. This is how we ensure development projects provide benefits to the surrounding community, things like affordable housing, parks, and open space. And the project aims to ensure that all applicants are evaluated consistently, fairly, and transparently, and that development ultimately provides benefits that are meaningful to the public, that are measurable as well. A couple of weeks ago, we released our study on Friendship Heights, which explores existing conditions from an urban design perspective, noting how the built environment and open space and the people who use those relate to one another. And the study lays the groundwork for creating a new vision for this important downtown area. In January, we presented the scope of work of the Germantown Employment Area Study to the Planning Board. Here we're examining how well the area has met the 2009 sector plan's call for employment and housing growth, and whether a sector plan amendment is needed soon. And we are preparing to begin work on our Glenmont Corridors Opportunity Study, with a focus on the areas surrounding the intersection of Randolph Road and Georgia Avenue, and how to integrate principles of corridor-focused growth, complete communities, and 15-minute living in that study area. The department has also developed a placemaking strategic plan. Brought a little prop with me here. Placemaking brings our plans to life and gives the community a chance to interact with what's possible in their neighborhoods. And the photo in this slide is from our very successful placemaking event in 2022 as part of our community engagement for the Fairland and Briggs Cheney Plan. Speaking of placemaking and its impact on a community, the redevelopment of the Burtonsville Crossing Shopping Center is a good example of how collaboration and investment can help and transform a community. The vacant shopping center was the site of a massive placemaking event organized by the Planning Department in 2019. Now the redevelopment plan will replace 7,600 square feet of the existing shopping center with a centralized gallery space with outdoor seating and a stage for arts and community events. Efforts like this benefit from the county, state, and private sector partnering together as well. In this case, the District 14 delegation played a key role in securing funds for facade improvements for the site. Earlier this winter, a Sprouts grocery store opened here, but there's more to come, including 2 new freestanding buildings with drive-thrus for restaurant or bank uses, and an extensive pedestrian and bicycle set of bicycle improvements along Old Columbia Pike. And as a side note, the regulatory review time for this project was 105 days, well under the 120-day limit. And so kudos to Patrick Butler and our up-county team and our partner agencies on the Development Review Committee for that. Speaking of development review, here's a high-level look at our development application stats for all of 2023. In total, we reviewed 464 development applications of all different types. Notably, roughly half of all those applications were projects in our up-county region. This is consistent with what we've seen for the last several years. 30% of the applications were in our mid-county area and 20% in our down-county area. This map shows the distribution of the 460 applications reviewed by those 3 area teams along with the county's 7 council member districts. I'll let you absorb this for a few seconds before we move on, but I think the key takeaway here is that there's a lot that our team is reviewing. There's a lot of work here. Some of these are quite complicated projects too, as you can imagine. Okay. In addition to the review of development applications, planning staff is responsible for reviewing a large number of applications related to historic properties. In 2023, our historic preservation team reviewed 228 historic area work permit applications. Our staff presented 68% of those cases to the Historic Preservation Commission for their review and decision, and quite often an application will go before the HPC numerous times for consultation before a final ruling on the application. The remaining 32% were staff-level approvals, and each of these, including the staff-level approvals, is a significant amount of work that requires coordination with the property owner, other agencies, and review of the work against the applicable historic design standards and guidelines. The HP team also reviewed 144 historic preservation tax credit applications, totaling more than $6.2 million in eligible improvement expenditures. They also did 43 Section 106 reviews, which are required for federally assisted projects that impact historic properties. And now, just real quickly to that beautiful Queen Anne house on the right. This is the Warner Circle Mansion in Kensington. The long-awaited comprehensive rehabilitation and adaptive reuse of this site was a really significant project unanimously approved by the HBC this past year. The project represents over a decade of collaboration between county government, the Parks Department, the Town of Kensington, the Friends of Warner Circle, and many others. The project will include an addition and the build-out of 17 market-rate condominiums in the mansion and its associated carriage house. So finally, as the County Council, you obviously are the ultimate authority on land use and zoning. And as you know, you decide our work program. Here's a list of the priority projects and plans that we've included in our FY25 work program request. And I know we'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about the importance of these projects and our budget requests, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about these projects. But I just wanted to underscore, and I think it's important for me in this new role of mine to tout the work of our staff. So I just want to underscore just how much work we're doing. It really amazes me every single day. We have an unbelievably talented staff who are dedicated public servants, doing an enormous amount of work that is critical to the quality of life in present-day Montgomery County and future Montgomery County. Each and every one of them inspires me a great deal to be the best that I can be and to give all of myself to my county. But I am quite honestly a little concerned about staff burnout. I will say our FY25 request doesn't only include these projects, but also includes new positions that will help alleviate burden on our staff. It's just a start, though. As we embark on our strategic planning effort, I'm confident that we'll identify a few gaps that we need to fill in order to, one, fulfill that call to action that I talked about from Thrive, and two, to continue to be recognized across the state and the nation as the gold standard in the planning field. I thank you for your reliance on us to be that good, and for your continued support of our staff and important work program. Thanks again for this opportunity to highlight the great work and dedication of our staff in service of the people of Montgomery County. And then there's actually one more slide. I'm sorry, it felt like that should have been the end there. This is our proposed, it identifies a few modifications to our project and plan schedule, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions about them, but you have this also in your staff report. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here to deliver my first semi-annual report as Montgomery Parks Director. I think Mike Riley, my predecessor, delivered probably 20 of these reports or so over the decade that he served as Parks Director, so it might take me a time or two to get to his level, but I will do my very best. For the Parks Department, the semi-annual is an opportunity for us to share with you all what we accomplish with the resources you give us, because we believe the Parks Department is a good investment with a high return for the constituents that you serve. And so we like to start off strong. Several of you, along with our planning board chair and a couple of our planning board members, attended the ribbon cutting for the renovation of Hillendale Local Park. It was a really happy event with hundreds of residents and their kids celebrating the opening of this long-awaited park renovation. It was a standalone CIP project. We don't do that many of those anymore, but I think we were able to deliver something truly special. At this point, you've probably already heard us talk about our PROS plan and how it sets the direction for where we're going in parks. It builds on Thrive, and it establishes three main goals: fostering physical activity, creating opportunities for social connection, and protecting the environment. I'm highlighting it for you here because much of what I will talk about in this report will go back to one or more or all of these three priorities. We've been focusing our parks acquisition in growing urban areas and equity areas to address the need for more parks within walking distance of where people are living. We recently acquired a 1-acre parcel in White Flint on Old Georgetown Road, across from Pike and Rose, and adjacent to a smaller property that we are getting in dedication from a developer. And combined, we're going to use the two properties together to create the White Flint Civic Green as recommended in the White Flint Master Plan. We also acquired a property in Long Branch to improve access and expand amenities at Long Branch Local Park, which is part of our Long Branch Parks Initiative, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. We acquired land for urban recreational parks for both the Eastern Capitol Crescent Recreational Park and the Westbard Recreational Parks. Both of these abut the Capitol Crescent Trail, and they're both master plan recommendations and require assembling a number of properties before we can implement them. And as Planning Board Chair Harris mentioned, we also acquired 473 acres in the Ag Reserve to create the Royce Hansen Conservation Park at Broad Run. It's not yet open to the public. We're in the process of creating safe public access over the coming year, and we'll be developing it with some sustainable recreational amenities like natural surface trails and primitive camping. We also acquired recently 33 acres to create the Edner Soapstone Special Park, which will be the site of a new archaeological park that will interpret the indigenous peoples of Montgomery County who mined the steatite found there thousands of years ago. It's a form of stone that is soft enough to carve but dense enough to withstand heat, and was used many thousands of years ago to create a variety of household tools. There were originally 11 of these quarries in Montgomery County, but the rest of them were destroyed by development or otherwise inaccessible to us. So we were very happy that we were able to acquire this last one and be able to make it open to the public and to use it to expand our understanding of the ancient history of Montgomery County. This is a timeline of our capital project delivery, and I don't expect you to be able to read everything that's on there, but at any given time, we have well over 300 projects and parks that are in some phase of planning, design, development, construction, as we're pushing tens of millions of dollars of capital funds out the door every single year. So I'm only going to talk about a few that are in the works coming right up. The Black Hill Seed Classroom, which creates a net zero energy classroom that will provide nature and environmental educational programming. It repurposes an old maintenance yard and restores the remaining areas to their natural condition, and we plan to cut the ribbon this spring, so you'll receive information about that. The Strathmore Local Park Refresher in Aspen Hill, and by the way, both those projects received bond bill funding that we were very grateful to get. And once again, we've said this before, we go looking for every source of funding that we can find in order to better leverage the dollars that you give us too. Carolyn Freeland Park in Bethesda, which I visited the construction site yesterday. It's coming along beautifully. It closed for renovation last July and should be open around the end of the summer. Ovid Hazen Wells, which expands the active recreational area in Ovid Hazen Wells Recreational Park, and finally relocates the historic Ovid Hazen Wells Carousel from Wheaton Regional Park to Clarksburg, and it'll create a destination for families in the Up County, much like Cabin John or Wheaton Regional Park in the Down County. The next phase of development includes construction of the Carousel Roundhouse, a skate park, picnic areas, amphitheater, parking trails, and more. Construction is expected to begin this summer, with the park opening in the fall of 2025. So in implementing our priorities, we are focused on the delivery of true urban parks. And these aren't just parks that are located in urban areas. Urban parks need to be strategically located near dense residential areas and around other amenities like restaurants and retail. They should be walkable and bikeable, and they should be very active. An urban park should be full of people. In some cases, as I shared in previous slides, we're acquiring and assembling properties to create new urban parks from scratch. Another strategy is to get parkland and parks dedicated to us as part of the development process. We can also increase people's access to urban parks through better connections like trails and better sidewalks. And finally, we can also take underutilized and underdeveloped urban parks and renovate them, and that's what we want to do with Jessup Blair. We recently kicked off the public outreach component of our facility plan process with a campaign to spread the word about an online survey that got almost 700 responses. And through the facility planning process, we'd like to identify and locate within the park the best possible uses and amenities that will really make this an attractive, inspiring, and engaging park with spaces for relaxation, enjoyment of nature, and active recreation. The park is also home to a historic property, the Jessup Blair House. Finding a successful long-term use for the house that complements what we're doing in the park is really important. As part of the facility plan process, we will be working to identify future potential uses. We plan to hold additional community meetings and expect to bring the facility plan and the proposal for the use of house to the planning board in spring of 2025. Next. So we recently also kicked off the public outreach process for the renovation of the Capitol Crescent Trail, which we're calling CCT 2.0. We hosted 2 public meetings attended by 150 residents and received 442 responses to our survey, which we're now analyzing. Our goal is to present the facility plan to the planning board in the summer of 2025 before seeking capital funding ahead of the next biennial CIP. And you're all familiar with the Long Branch Parks Initiative, where we're holistically planning improvements to 10 Long Branch parks, but I wanted to give you an update on our most recent activity. Our initial outreach has concluded, and we're currently preparing a report with project recommendations to be presented back to the community and to the planning board this spring and summer. And meanwhile, we're pursuing state and federal funding for the park renovation at Quebec Terrace. The first part of the project at Long Branch Garland has been completed and it's open to the public. It's a new accessible picnic shelter with grills and picnic tables. And this is a very big deal because before this, the entire Long Branch area had only one picnic shelter, and there are going to be more to come. So one of the things we heard through our PROS survey and outreach is that we need to do more for teens in Montgomery County. This is where we have a service gap, and we've really taken this to heart. We have 3 skate parks already in Montgomery County, but we're gearing up to build 5 more at Ovid Hazen Wells, at Wheaton, Long Branch Local, Newport Mill, and South Germantown Rec Park. Our skate park outreach, and you can see some of it here, concluded last fall and received over 700 survey responses, and we're using those to inform the planning and design. 45% of the respondents were between the ages of 13 and 29. This is a very hard demographic to engage, so we were very proud of those results. And what we wanted is to hear from the people who are going to use the park about what they want and need in it. We heard so much positive feedback that we've requested bond bill funding for 2 more skate parks, one at Fairland and one at Centerway Park in Montgomery Village. During outreach for our PROS plan, we also heard that people need more programs for seniors, and certainly the county's demographic data very much supports this. So we've been implementing new programs that create opportunities for our slightly older residents to get together and socialize, to get exercise, to be out in nature. And some of those include our Active Aging Week, which is full of programming, and our 55 and over socials, our 55 and over kayaking, our Strong and Fit program, which is a partnership with Age Well Senior Fitness that uses our fully accessible outdoor fitness equipment, and our Montgomery Explorers program, which has over 520 members and an average of nearly 50 walkers a week. And we have more to come. I want to thank the Parks Foundation for supporting more senior programming in parks. The Wheaton Regional Master Plan was approved in 2022, and we're now moving forward with implementation of the recommended improvements to this 64-year-old 500-acre regional park next door. During the public outreach for the Wheaton Regional Park Master Plan, the community identified skate parks as one of the most desired amenities that's not currently provided in the park, and this aligns with a growing regional demand for skateboarding and adventure biking. The goal of the Adventure Sports Park is to provide a safe, inclusive, and engaging adventure sports experience alongside spaces for social connection and environmental improvements, and the new park is intended to serve a diversity of ages and abilities. We have a community meeting coming up on April 4th where we're going to show 2 preliminary design concepts that will show how these amenities will fit together within the Rubini complex at Wheaton Regional. And we did request a large increase in GO bonds to move forward with this project and with the other improvements envisioned in the plan, and those include trail renovations, signage, bathrooms, dog park, community gardens, and more. One of the ways that we get people outdoors in nature is through our 130 miles of natural surface trails. Building these trails is very cost effective. You give us the capital dollars. We're able to very quickly build them. It's a function of the manpower. In Wheaton Regional Park, we took a master plan recommendation and we got right to work renovating existing trails, and we created a new mountain biking loop with trails for beginners and advanced riders. We expect it to open in June, and we want to thank our partners at Moore who helped us with this project. You're all familiar at this point with our activation program. It includes beloved and extremely popular events like Acoustics and Ales. Unfortunately, the first one that was supposed to be held at North Four Corners Local Park had to be canceled because of weather, but we have another one coming up at Elm Street Urban Park. I believe that one's April 8th, and then later this season, another one at Flower Avenue Urban Park. And that's just part of a full slate of events that we have planned for the spring and summer. This spring, we're also excited to announce our first Sligo Creek Fest. It'll be held on May 4th on the section of Open Parkway between Dennis and University Boulevard. It's going to be a street festival on the Open Parkway. We'll have music and food and events, and I hope that all of you will have the opportunity to join us there. We can all easily see how activation events create opportunities for social connection, but community gardens are another way that people come together in parks and they interact with each other and get healthy exercise. In fact, gardening is considered a blue zone activity that is associated with longevity. In 2023, we opened 2 new community gardens at Edgewood and at Black Hill, and we're looking at where we can add more, like, for example, in Long Branch and Wheaton Regional Park. Our community garden program also donates food that's collected from gardeners and through our Grown at Pope program where volunteers grow food at Pope Farm specifically for donation. And the program also hosts activation events like our Foodie Friday speaker series, which runs from June to October. Last year, 4 out of 5 of those events sold out completely. And to better serve our users, we've been analyzing them so that we can better improve our service delivery. And I just also want to note that I hope that you're seeing a theme throughout this is that every part of the Parks Department is engaged in implementing pros. Even our community gardens, they do their part to create activities for people to come together. One of the things that we're very proud of in parks is the commitment of our volunteers and the value that they provide to us. Our Volunteer Services Office recently worked with our GIS team to create an internal dashboard to track volunteer projects and hours, and this means that we don't have to use manual collection and spreadsheet entry, and we use this data. It's useful to us for things like our MS4 permit, budgeting, grant reports, and this is just another example of how we use data to manage our parks and our operations more efficiently and make really good use of the resources we have. And speaking of volunteers and the value they provide, I hope that you all saw this article in the Washington Post about our Weed Warrior program. It featured our program manager, Corinne Stevens. Again, we do everything we can to use every bit of the resources we have very wisely. One of our best resources are our Weed Warriors. Non-native invasives are a global ecological threat, and they're one of the biggest problems we have in parks. We simply do not have enough resources to manage them. It's 37,000 acres of parkland. It's a very difficult challenge for us. But our Weed Warriors are out there really trying to do their part, pulling up the porcelain berry and the mile a minute, and you know, I like to think that they get something out of it too, that volunteering in the parks is a way of connecting with people who share your values and interests and connects you to your community and improves your well-being. So I like to think that we're doing something for each other.
And our parks are for everyone. It's the job of our program access team to make good on this promise. And here you can see our planning board chair in that bottom left photo helping someone at the accessible boat launch at Seneca Landing. We'll be installing another one at Black Hill with a grant from the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. And I also want to highlight our Trail Trekkers program. It's a walking program for young people with disabilities between the ages of 16 and 25. We know that this is when services tend to drop off, so we want to help fill that gap. And we also updated our website to make it more accessible, and we have updated and improved our accommodations processes so that our employees who need some kind of accommodation have an easier time of requesting it and getting it. And finally, a few days ago, as you all know, the county executive dropped his fiscal year 25 operating budget. So I just want to take a moment to highlight some of our staff. These are some of our program access and activation teams. The operating budget mostly funds our people, the people who plan, design, build, maintain, operate, and program, and also just keep the place running behind the scenes. You know, the data shows that park visitation increased dramatically during COVID, but it's remained very high and very steady. And, you know, we're still pouring through this budget, but the preliminary news is not good. The recommendation reduced our ask by $4 million. This does not even give us the same services budget. It doesn't fund our contractual increases. It doesn't fund our inflationary increases. It doesn't fund our OBI. For all these parks that I'm showing you that we're trying to build and open, we're not getting the resources we need to maintain them, and that's going to be a real challenge for us going forward. So, you know, I know we're going to have lots more opportunity to talk about this. I look forward to working with the committee and with the full council as we go through the budget. And before I go on to the last slide, while I'm on the subject of staff, I was remiss in not introducing some of my staff who are here. My two deputies, Gary Burnett, who's the Deputy Director for Operations, and Darren Flouchet, who's the Acting Deputy for Administration. Dominique Harlow is here from the Director's Office. She's Chief of Staff in the office. And we have Susan Stafford here from our Public Affairs team as well. And then our last slide. This is the carving of the linden oak. I hope you've all had an opportunity to see this. It is at Kengar Park. If you haven't, you can go take a look. And we have 2 more of these oak carvings coming. We want to thank the Parks Foundation for giving us the funding for this. And with that, I just want to thank you for your time.
I'll end up here. Thank you, Jason and Mitty. You gave wonderful presentations, and I'd like to end by saying we're so fortunate to have a great team with the board, the Commissioner's Office, and the Planning and Parks Department. I am so excited to come to work every day because we are all working so hard to make a difference in the county. Mitty mentioned the linden oak. Our team is focused on improving the quality of life for all Montgomery County residents. The image here of the linden oak is just a perfect metaphor for our work. The champion beloved tree needed to come down, but we were able to create beauty out of it and incorporate new public art in the same community. Our teams look at community in the same way. We recognize the history and importance of place and then work with the community to bring that beauty out. We've had an opportunity here to highlight just some of the projects throughout your districts, but you should know that our work is county-wide and we are always considering the benefits of all your constituents. We will continue to leverage Thrive Montgomery 2050 and our 2022 PROS plan to guide our work. Thank you again to all the council members for your continued support of our work, especially in the midst of budget season. We truly appreciate the partnership and value you place on our work and the resources you provide us. The county executive's recommended operating budget is $8 million short of the amount we requested, $4 million of Mitty just talked about. We look forward to the upcoming budget work sessions to review options for closing this gap. I'd like to finally end by saying thank you for your trust in each of us and our teams to continue making the county a great place to live, work, and play for all of your constituents. So thank you very much. We're here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure there are questions and comments from colleagues who are getting in the queue. I'll just start as the chair of the Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee, as well as the council president this year, to express my appreciation. There's been a lot of transition in a number of different ways at the planning board, with the leadership of the staff of both the Parks Department and the Planning Department over the last year and a half to 2 years. The one constant has been the staff, who have continued to do a remarkable job, who continue to win well-deserved recognition, to be noticed by experts in the field across the region, throughout the country, and who are appreciated every day by the people who utilize the parks, who see the community benefits that are coming to their neighborhoods. And I think all of us express our appreciation to the staff, some of whom who are here today, but many of whom who are not. But just wanted to start with the dedication and professionalism and expertise that we have in the Parks Department and in the Planning Department. It is really remarkable. It's one of the things that makes Montgomery County such a great place, and we are just very grateful and very fortunate to each of you. So thank you for all of your work. Thank you to the Planning Board for all of your efforts. This has been a significant time, and in many ways the groundwork for what we heard here was done previously, and now it's really about implementing. I've done the Seinfeld reservation analogy before. I'm not going to do it again, but it's one thing to have a vision. It's another thing to be able to actually implement that vision. And we have Thrive 2050 on the planning side and land use side. We have the PROS plan, which probably gets less notoriety and less attention on Nextdoor and Twitter, but is no less important in terms of the North Star, as we heard, to setting the strategic direction for the Parks Department for the next couple decades. And the amount of work that went into that, the vision that it has, and our ability to implement on that vision and really deliver on the commitments that we have made to our residents, the commitments that we have to our community is significant. And really many of the remarkable and positive things that are happening are the beginning of the implementation of those two plans that are really setting the direction. And I know that we have the leadership in place to deliver and to implement and to follow through on those efforts. We make the policy, but it's really up to you to implement the policy and to make sure that we're delivering for our residents, which you're doing each and every day. I will note the Edith Throckmorton Neighborhood Park in Kengar, where the Linden Oak is located, is just yet another example of some of the amazing assets that we have in the Parks Department. It's an example of a community park that was refreshed recently. I was proud to be there with many members of the Parks team at the time. And it's not one of our better known. It's not Wheaton Regional Park or Cabot Regional Park, but it is no less important and central to the community that's there. And it's amazing to see one of our great natural assets to be repurposed in a way that not only honors the legacy of one of the great education leaders and great black leaders of our community, NAACP leaders, seminary figures in Montgomery County history, but also connects people to nature and the natural habitat that we have, which is so central to the Parks Department mission. So I'll just quickly express my appreciation for all the work that you're doing. I'm particularly pleased as the chair of the Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee for the work that we're doing on housing targets. Stay tuned, colleagues. We have been working very hard in the Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee. I'm very pleased with where we're moving forward on that. This is going to be groundbreaking work, I think, not just to have targets for 2030 and to assess and benchmark where we are to those targets, but to make sure that we are setting, for the first time of any jurisdiction, 2040 and 2050 goals, and starting to determine how we achieve those goals. I'm also really looking forward to the incentive zoning update, the benefits points that I've talked about for quite some time from the previous council that the Planning Department is moving forward with, and I know Robert Cronenberg is in the back, and I see colleagues nodding as well. This is going to be critical work to understand what we're incentivizing, what we want to get in terms of public benefits, and ensuring that it is appropriate to the priorities that we have in our community today. You know, we don't want to have public benefits that were for last decade's, you know, public priorities. We want our benefits to be about today's and tomorrow's and the future's benefits that we want and we expect to have. So I think, you know, this will be so essential to focusing our master plans to ensure we're delivering for what our residents expect and what we know our communities need moving forward, and really appreciate the continued work on the segregation mapping tool and some of the other aspects which really intersect the planning department and the parks department, between the research side of things and things like the Josiah Henson Museum and some of the amazing, you know, historical treasures that we have, that the parks department is doing incredible work, and the planning department that is doing your own historic preservation work and research that's groundbreaking in that regard. And I'll just note on the, you know, district council side, there's just you know, a lot of, you know, other you know, efforts you know, in the parks, with continued progress on Women's Farm Market and Caroline Freeland Park, and I could go on, but really express my appreciation for that as well. So thank you. I appreciate the presentation. We have a lot of work to do in the operating budget. I share your concerns about the cuts and the impact that's going to have on our ability to deliver for residents, and the recognition that parks has played for well-being, for health and wellness, for quality of life, for really economic development in many ways, and continuing the progress that we're making on the planning side, which, you know, is at the center of community building and economic development as well. So with that, let me turn to colleagues, starting with Councilmember Albernas.
All right, another fantastic presentation. So impressed with the continued leadership and direction. And although, yes, there has been transition, we haven't missed a beat, clearly. So thank you all so much. So several comments and then several questions. I think, Jason, when you were talking about Thrive 2050, the scars that I have emerged, but I'm so proud that we were able to get that groundbreaking document passed, and that it is serving as your North Star, as your guide. We tried to leave some flexibility within that plan in partnership with you all to give you the runway necessary to be able to implement in a way that you all saw fit. And so I think we landed in a good place, but needless to say, the two-way street of communication needs to continue as it has all along traditionally, so that as you're planning and these wonderful conversations you all are having internally, you know, checking back in with the council pretty regularly, I think would be helpful for everybody, and keep the momentum going there. I did have a question for you. So one thing I've been tracking closely are birth rates, which, you know, have gone down precipitously, especially in the last 5 years. Councilmember Juando and I introduced legislation this morning that we're hoping to some degree may help. But, you know, as we're planning the CIP and looking at school construction projects, which understandably and correctly, once again, represents the lion's share of, you know, our CIP, I'm just curious as to any thoughts or comments you have. I'm always reminded of, you know, I graduated from high school in 1994, and that was around the time that we were actually turning over many schools and converting them to other uses because the population dipped so precipitously. So just your thoughts on that from a planning perspective.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting and different from what we've been seeing over, you know, certainly pre-pandemic, and that will play out in some way with the growth and infrastructure policy as that comes before you too. You know, MCPS has an interesting kind of period of time ahead of them here, where they've got a number of major high school projects that are coming online that are going to require some redistricting of where students go, and in all 3 different parts of the county. So it's going to be pretty comprehensive. And I think as part of that, they're planning to do, you know, some redistricting at the middle school level as well. I think, though, with those birth rates and the potential that some of our elementary schools may not be as overburdened as they've been in the past, there may be a need to look really comprehensively across the board. And so, you know, that's really for MCPS to consider. But one thing that we have is, I mentioned the MOU. One of the things we've talked about is as they do their projections and their other work, we've got a lot of data. And this is something actually I know you all know, but we always welcome opportunities to work with you and to provide you with data resources that you need. But we've made that outreach to MCPS as well, that we're happy to talk about where we see growth going, where we're trying to focus growth, so that they can be thinking about what makes sense for their schools and their going forward.
Great, that makes sense. I appreciate that. Ms. Figueredo, welcome. Thank you so much. I want to publicly acknowledge you and your team and Director Riley before that for the very thoughtful approach, including you, Mr. Harris, in engaging with constructive community dialogue around some challenges that happened around the closure of Beach Drive. I just really want to express my appreciation for your commitment to and your conversations and thoughtful reflection and looking for reasonable solutions, because as I know well, you have a lot of constituencies in your role as director, and there's a lot of balancing, and so I just wanted to thank you for that. I did have a number of questions regarding the youth survey. I know it is incredibly difficult to engage our youth and to get them to respond to surveys. I love skate parks. I think they are wonderful. I think they serve a wonderful purpose. But I'd just be curious as to, have you all done an assessment, for example, the skate park in White Oak, on its use and whether it gets a significant amount of use? I've heard from community members in that area in particular that would love to see a futsal court, for example, and that could be another form of activation. Coach Fofo, who we all know very well, has talked often about, you know, they practice on those fields, don't see very many people on the actual skate park. You know, he and many others have said that would be a great spot for a futsal court. And there were actually youth that testified before the council last year during our youth town hall, and Director Riley actually met with some of those youth who suggested the conversion to futsal courts. You know, just curious as to if you've had a chance to look at that, and then any assessment and evaluation on the skate parks, you know, before we start building many more of them, assessing the current use.
I'm not sure that the skate park in White Oak is ours. I will have to go back and confirm. And I think the skate parks we do have in Montgomery Parks are well used. We want to make sure, though, that as we're designing and building these new skate parks, and you know, not everybody uses a skate park, but if you like skateboarding, then you need skate parks. Mm-hmm. I think that what we want to do is design these, and this is why we're doing such intensive outreach with the folks who are actually going to be using the skate park, is make sure that they're designed to their specifications. We want them to be usable for them, and so they're informing us as to what kind of features and what kind of design will work for them. But I think all of us recognize that skate parks aren't the only amenity that we need to be including in parks as we redevelop parks and create new parks. There are a number of emerging needs, and futsal and soccer and sport courts are among those, and we are looking for opportunities to add those in new parks too. I'll go back and look at your question some more and see if we've done an assessment of the usage of the existing skate parks and how that assessment might inform what we're doing going forward.
Great. I know you built the one in White Oak. I don't know if you actually operated. You all were involved. I was still at the rec department then, so
yeah, okay.
you were engaged in that process at the time.
Okay.
But I do think it would be great, and I think if we could, we have the youth town hall. We have several youth advisory committees. Actually, Councilmember Sales has a youth advisory committee within her own office, and so I think there are many resources that we may want to tap into. And maybe, this time next year we can have sort of a comprehensive breakdown. Because I know whenever we discuss the PROS plan, I'm always so disappointed in how few people come forward from the community to actually advocate for various projects. And so I think it's a missed opportunity, and one I'd love to work with you guys on to see how we can engage more youth. That is particularly important right now, as you know, and I so appreciate the emphasis on engaging our teens. Because they are hurting, as you all know, right now. And I think in addition to providing the amenities, the activation is also critical. You all partner with the Street Outreach Network with the Summer of Peace events, which I attend every summer, and I know are being planned again this summer. Those are fabulous. And so the degree to which we can activate the existing basketball courts with tournaments, 3-on-3 tournaments, that's where you're going to really get more engagement. And I think you all are uniquely positioned to help be part of that solution. So thank you.
Thank you.
Just two other points. On the White Flint Civic Green, which I'm really excited to hear is moving forward. I remember being in those meetings, as we selected. Will that be an activated park with youth and children and youth amenities, or do you envision just an open green space, or what are you thinking there?
So there's going to be a temporary park that's created while we're kind of getting ready to develop the full park. The completed park is intended to be very active. It's intended to be an active urban park. It's recommended in the master plan. And yes, absolutely, we want to make sure that it's amenitized and programmed so that it serves its purpose as a true urban park.
Awesome. And then just two other quick questions. On the Jessup Blair Park, there have been some community-led efforts that were exciting and envisioning, and understandably, the Parks Department has to go through a thoughtful process to open that up for other suggestions and comments, but I would just put a plug in. There was some really great work done by Carpe Diem and some other outstanding organizations who did thoughtfully engage the community and had some really exciting ideas. I don't know where you all will land. I just wanted to acknowledge that effort, and I know you're aware of it, but just not really take it into account in your planning. And then finally, I mentioned the last time you all gave an update, and I would love to follow up with you on this, is lights on fields. That, I think, is one of the many solutions that we're going to have to creatively look at addressing the supply and demand issues of. The good news is we've got a lot of kids that want to play sports, and adults too. We just don't have as much supply. And so addressing that creatively through things like lights, I think are part and an important part of that solution. So would love to continue to work with on that too. I think, and I love the oak carvings. Those are really cool. So thank you. I yield back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Turning it to Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez.
Yes, good afternoon. I was very happy to see the Park and Planning Commission, and I would like to recognize the planning board members here. I see Mr. Sean, Barley, and Mitra. I see in the back. I think that's the two of you only with the chair, right? So having 3 out of 5 is a big deal. And the 2 online, okay, we're going to trust that. But it's a big deal, so thank you for being here. So I'm going to start with planning. The MCPS Montgomery Planning MOU that Mrs. Sartori mentioned is a big deal. We started that process when I was on the planning board. We finally got it signed, only 4 years later, maybe more. But it's a big deal, and I'm glad that's moving forward, and I hope there is more communications between MCPS and planning. So that's a good thing. Very exciting projects that you have coming up. Especially the attainable housing strategies that you mentioned, and also projects in my district like the Georgia Avenue corridor for FY25, big deals, as well as the Clemon one. So thank you for that. And then with parks, a lot of great work. I love that you uplifted the Wheaton Regional Park in the desire of having this adventure park. I had a town hall meeting with youth. I had about 150 kids there, and the Parks Department was there taking ideas, and skate parks was one of the main ones that people wanted, and that came from the youth. Location is important, so as you analyze the other skate parks in the county, are they located in an urban setting like Wheaton Regional Park, where access? So think about that. So that's one. The other thing that actually is a question, and this is something that our sister Park and Planning Commission has in Prince George's County. They have a program for seniors that ride bikes. just specifically for seniors. It's like the More Network or the one that you have for little kids where they all gather to ride their bikes. They have one for seniors. And I think as we move forward with, you also highlighted the Wheaton Regional Park bike trail. I was there on Sunday with the More Network, and I walked the trail that is going to open in June, as you mentioned. Fantastic. I can see that as another way to activate the senior community. Don't think that seniors don't ride bikes. They do. I have lots of friends who are above 55 who are like, yeah, I see me in the back, who are more active than me. So I think we need to do more with that, and I think Prince George's County has a beautiful model. So take a look at that, and I will combine that work with all the efforts that we're doing with the community with disabilities. Like you mentioned, the one, the effort that we have in App County with the boats and the disabled community, especially military families that go there. But I think when we talk about bicycles, people think that it's only for people of all abilities, when it's not true. People with disabilities, they have their bikes that are designed for people with disabilities. So as you think about seniors, also think about that community, because I think it will be very awesome. And I know that all requires money. I understand that, but AARP might be a funder right there for that one. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, also an idea about the Sligo Creek Parkway, the event that you're going to have coming up. I look forward to being there in the community gardens. I want to thank you, the Parks Department, for helping me with the Ken Mill Urban Park cleanup. You guys provided the tools. Although this park is not on parkland, it's on MCPS land, the partnership that we have with the Parks Department is key to make it move forward. And then the last thing I'll say, the drone program that we have in Wheaton, as people may know, that drone is on top of the park and planning building, and I want to thank the Parks Department and Dominique somewhere. See you in the back. I really want to thank you for your patience and working with my office and the Montgomery County Police Department. It's a highlight that when you want great things to happen, you need to create good partnerships, and this program is going to be successful thanks to the partnership that we have with the Park and Planning Commission. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor McGlass.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Chair Harris and Director Sartori and Director Figueredo and the Planning Board members who were here as well. This is a solid update. There's so much in it, and I'm going to try and just piece off what I think are the most important things. I'm going to start with Mr. Sartori, Director Sartori. The slide that you shared about the income and breaking that out, where we have an increase in lower income residents, an increase in higher income residents, and a decrease in middle class residents. If that does not speak to why we've adopted Thrive, and if that is not, I'll say, personification of missing middle, I don't know what is. That's why we're doing this work, to help restore and bring back the middle class to Montgomery County, because we can't achieve our goals of economic success, school success, and maintaining 3 of the 10 most diverse communities in the country without that. Now I'll get to a question. Director Sartori, what do you view as the roadmap to building that attainable housing?
Sure. So I'll just say that when I first saw that, I was thinking the same thing that you were just saying, right? That we could have an entire course, college course just around those graphs and trying to kind of figure out what this means to us. And so in terms of that roadmap, though, for attainable housing, I think that we have a pretty good set of proposals that we'll be bringing to you. Now, we were really close to being completed with our recommendations, and now we're going to be bringing them to our new board. We're really thrilled with this new board, and we love working with them, and we're looking forward to having these work sessions with them. So I can't guarantee exactly what you're going to see once we get through the work sessions with them, but I think it does outline a really good approach to we identified 3 different scales of housing within that missing middle, the attainable housing kind of spectrum. One of that is, duplexes and triplexes, that we just want to be able to allow those in our single-family neighborhoods. Right now, if you tear down a single-family home, you only have one option, and that's to build another single-family home. And those single-family homes that are being rebuilt, they tend to be, multiple times larger, multiple times more expensive than the one that was there. So giving more options so that the property owner that decides to do that could instead build a duplex or a triplex that, we're not talking necessarily about affordable housing, but housing that is more affordable than the alternative, the only alternative that exists today, will provide more opportunities for more people to be able to access those neighborhoods. So that's one part. Another part is our, mid-scale, where we're focused more on our corridor. So this is where things connect really closely to what we've talked about in Thrive. Obviously, so did the first part, but where we talk about corridor-focused growth. And so how do we get more density along those corridors and allowing a new optional method of development that is focused on those corridors to allow those duplexes, maybe some cottage courts, to some other types of 2-over-2s or other types of units, or even small apartment buildings. And then the third, at the larger scale, is something that we really envision working through master plans, allowing through the master plan process to, upzone along those corridors. Again, we're focused on the corridors. And we think by doing that, just by having more housing being built and more opportunities, more options for people, you will kind of help to, kind of stabilize the housing market in terms of the pricing, but also just generally create more opportunities for that middle class too.
If we want more housing that's affordable, we need more housing. The other question I have for you, Director Sartori, regarding the applications, you said 50% are up county, 30% are mid county, and 20% are down county. Can you untangle that a little bit?
Sure. Part of it is, if you go back to that map, you see the up county is a really large area. Now, you have different types of projects in those different areas, and so we might have more units in some of the down county than we might have in up county. But really, we have a lot. They all require an extensive amount of review and work, whether it's a project for 10 units or a project for 300 units.
So it's just more opportunity.
There's more. It's more area, but there's also just we just have a lot more projects taking place there. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Figueredo, Director. And welcome both of you for your first presentation, of course. I want to start by thanking the 7,068 volunteers, right, who help you and your staff. That's awesome. I've seen them out and about. I see the emails, and so I know people love our parks and they love helping and cleaning, and so we thank them. Also very much appreciate the continued focus on the equity emphasis areas and highlighting among all the different parks that you noted, Quebec Terrace, right? Long Branch and Flower Avenue is only one of a community that is in the midst of a lot of change with the Purple Line and other things that are happening, and so making sure that people don't have to walk 3/4 of a mile to go to that one nice park is a wonderful thing. So thank you for those efforts. Listening to Councilmember Albornoz talk about skate parks, right? I remember it was in 2009, and there was a woman that we affectionately called Skater Mom in downtown Silver Spring who as a mom led the effort for more skate parks, and it was her advocacy when I was on the Silver Spring Citizens Advisory Board that helped get the skate park at Woodside Park. And so now there'll be more, and appreciate that effort as well. But also keeping it to downtown Silver Spring. I think the concept for Jessup Blair Park is a very interesting one. As someone who used to live across the street on the other side of Georgia, the biggest problem with Jessup Blair was Georgia Avenue. And it is, I just want to hear your thoughts, right, on how we activate that, but it's really important that you and planning fall under the same, I don't want to say agency, but right, same commission, because it will be the work of both of you and SHA and MCDOT as well to make sure that that park the attendees of that park are safe and that it's someplace they wanted to go to. It's also partly why the Newell Street Park is being built, because people don't want to cross Georgia Avenue. But talk about the concept for reshaping that marquee spot, because as people drive north from the district, it will be probably the first thing they see.
Yeah, it's basically a gateway into Silver Spring from the District of Columbia, and it's in the heart of downtown Silver Spring, although, as you said, it's separated from many of the residential communities, the multifamily residential communities by Georgia Avenue, and we did. So just to back up for a second, we did a lot of the sort of initial concept planning for what we thought Jessup Blair needed to be as part of the Silver Spring master plan that was just recently approved by the Montgomery County Council. And it was through that process that we identified the need for different kinds of parks that serve different purposes in that area. The area developed a long time ago without much thought to making sure that there were parks there to support all the people who are going to be living in the multifamily. And then now we have the, in some ways it's sort of a good problem to have. I mean, we have a thriving urban area, but we're missing parks, and it's, very tricky. As I said, there's multiple ways to try to get parks delivered to you in an area that's already developed. You're not starting from scratch. Jessup Blair just presents a huge opportunity. I think it's a 15-acre park. It's enormous. And yes, it will always be a challenge to cross Georgia, and there's probably a lot that can still be done to make that a better crossing for residents. But I think if we make the park really active and inviting, if it's irresistible to people in the area, there are things there that they absolutely want to participate in, then I think that we're going to hopefully succeed in actually attracting all the people into the park. And as we know, if you bring more people into a place, you make it safer and more inviting. It has a, it has a beneficial effect. The Silver Spring Urban Rec Park is kind of a different sort of park. I mean, we want Jessup Blair to include recreational amenities for sure, and it's okay if both of them are also very active, and we're not worried too much about duplicating, because again, they're in on different sides of the street. It's a smaller format. I think it's an acre, but we can fit a lot in there, and so that's also going to be, I think that's going to, in a shorter term, serve a lot of the needs of the folks who live on that west side of Georgia Avenue, because we'll be able to deliver that in a much shorter time frame than the Jessup Blair. But yeah, I really, there's so much potential at Jessup Blair. It's going to be eventually a pretty significant capital budget ask, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
That's a conversation for the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One problem at a time.
Appreciate the vision very much. And I'll close by thanking Chair Harris and the members of the Planning Board. Everyone who I speak with when we talk about the Planning Department, I hear nothing but appreciation for the 5 members of the Planning Board, each of whom bring their own different unique experiences. They bring their different styles, but everyone recognizes that you're working together and that you're working towards a shared goal. And so I appreciate that and appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Giwando.
Thank you very much. Good to see you. I always feel like, this is like when you get to show off. We in PHP get to see you all the time, and it's great that everyone else gets to hear all the great things that are going on. So appreciate the work of you and your staff, those that are here and at home, as well as the Planning Board. A couple things I wanted to touch on. You mentioned the growth and infrastructure policy, which we renamed 4 years ago from the subdivision staging policy, which is this to be more aptly named for like, are we keeping up with what we need to support our growing community, whether it's schools or transportation infrastructure, something we always hear about. We eliminated the development moratorium last time. We included a proposal that I had in there to incentivize more family housing. We added Vision Zero into that policy for the first time. So we made some big changes last time. Could you talk about anything? Okay, I'm going to catch you off guard. But if there's anything that's on the top of your mind for later this year that will come up that you're thinking about, and if not, I would also, you can get back to me if you're not ready to talk about that, but I also would love to see, as we enter that conversation, a update on like what happened with the big changes we made in relation to, I mentioned several policies there that are pretty important, but want to allow you to speak to that.
Sure. So our growth and infrastructure policy team just briefed the planning board last Thursday on its recommendations, preliminary recommendations. And so now we'll continue to have conversation. We don't yet have a draft that we've released in any way. You know,
we don't want to make news today.
No. Well, and no, because we did talk openly about it last week too. So I'll say this. I mean, you're not going to see any major shift the way we did last time with the elimination of the moratorium. These are more kind of like perfecting the policy, if you will, tweaking it to make sure that it's still supporting our other policy priorities. Some of it is making it a little simpler, easier to understand, making sure that our guidelines that the board then implements after the policy is adopted, that those guidelines guide our staff as well as applicants, that they are clear, making sure that there's a fairness, if you will, to it, and especially on the transportation side, that there's proportionality built into, we don't have smaller projects with massive commitments on off-site improvements that they have to make as a result of, the bicycle network not being as safe as we'd want it to be, right? So we still want improvements, but it needs to be proportional to the size of the project. So things like that we're trying to kind of embed that in the policy, but we will certainly, as we move forward with it, we'll do a check-in on here's what we did last time and here's what we've seen from that, so that you'll get an opportunity to see if it's working or not.
I figured this was as good a time as any to mention that to you, and that since everyone's listening.
Yeah, they're taking notes for sure.
I appreciate it. Yep. Really excited about attainable housing. We've talked about this in different formats. I had a proposal last time. I'm glad we're going to take it up and get the good input from the planning board members and see what comes out. And it's clear we have to, of course, build more housing. We have to protect renters. We have to have different types of housing at different price points. So we have to move in this direction, but how we do it is important. And so I look forward to that conversation. Really excited with parks, with everything that you're doing. Obviously, we made some preliminary recommendations to restore some of your funding in the CIP. I know we all value, this body has traditionally, and I personally value the work that Parks does, and so we'll certainly take that up in the operating budget as well. I also wanted to double tap what Councilmember Albernas said about better and more coordination around helping and meet the needs of our youth. I mean, there's so many diverse needs right now, and a lot of them, a lot of times it's hard to get to the folks that we really want to hear from the most about how we can be helpful. And I really appreciate the MOU work, which was a big deal for many years with MCPS. And I think that'll help incentivize even more conversation with how we work with our young people. So excited to see that. So look forward to seeing you probably next week. But thank you for all the work that you're doing and your teams. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Councilmember Lukey.
Thank you, Mr. President. First off, I'm just going to say I love community gardens, so I just need to put that out there. They're wonderful. I think that not everyone appreciates how much community building and engagement they provide, and what they mean for human connection, in addition to the benefits of what is produced there, and activation in our recreational areas. And I want to thank you, Director Figueredo, for our support us in expanding the field lighting up in the Up County in Damascus at Damascus Recreational Park, and for the commitment to assisting with the state bond request for the skate spot. I gotta say skate spot, it's not skate park. We have skate spots and we have skate parks, and one is not the same as the other, but for that skate spot in Centerway Park in Montgomery Village, which will be a great complementary use to that existing facilities there next to Whetstone Elementary. I know that we had talked previously about bocce courts, and bringing some of those to existing park spaces within the county to help activate, because it is an inclusive sport. It's an all ages sport. It's something that we have now at MCPS. And by the way, I guess I had just looked, and it looks like, Council President, your alma mater's bocce team did very well last year. So go Churchill. But you know,
they learned it all from someone other than me.
Someone other than
I
you.
Certainly did
he
not
did
help.
not play bocce. But that, you know, that is something that would provide an all ages activation within our parks. And I know we talked about pickleball, and we have lots of pickleball. But if we can do some things that, again, appeal to others with a range of abilities, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. And to the point that Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez made earlier about being careful and thoughtful about where we locate amenities, I think some of the work that is most unseen and unsung in park planning and park development is the site planning, is locating where the appropriate locations are for a particular amenity. And some of that is just as simple as, does it fit?
Right.
But it's also, where? Is it close to something? Is it accessible? Can people get there by bike or by transit? There's just a lot that goes into planning for new amenities in our existing parks, and that's usually where we have to plan for the new amenities, because most of the time it's through a park renovation that we get to add something. And the bocce court is an example of, right now we're engaged in the site planning aspect of locating not just one bocce court. We want to make it like a mini bocceplex so that people can host tournaments at one of those. So that's, you know, we'll have more information for you over the coming months, but we love that idea and we're moving forward with it. And if I can just take a moment, your Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez's idea about the biking for seniors is a great idea. It had not occurred to me, but it's excellent. But also, we did purchase an adaptive bicycle for disabled residents, and I think we're kicking that program off this summer. It's kind of, we're piloting it, so we'll have more information for you on that too. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you all do, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules last week to come and tour in Loudoun County with us as we explored agritourism down there. It was very helpful for us to all be on the same bus, going to the same places, having the same conversations. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Mink.
All right, what a fun presentation. This is great. So a lot of what I'm excited about has been mentioned already, so I'll hit on one of the less sexy ones. I am excited about the parking lot design study there, and that it's we've got a lot of funding support there. Not sexy, but like there is so much that we could do. How old school is that? You know, the way that things have been is not the way things always need to be, and there's a lot of potential for improvement there. So I'm just excited to see about the innovative new developments that comes out of that. Also excited about the continued expansion of the mapping segregation project. It's been really groundbreaking, and there's so many ways to incorporate that data into the work that we do. So it's great to see that continue to expand. Some district stuff. Wanted to note that as planning knows, and as our central staff here knows, I've received numerous requests for a minor master plan amendment to modernize the Burtonsville overlay zone. So I appreciate the agreement from planning that it needs some kind of attention, that there's limitations there that are outdated, established in 1997, not surprising that it doesn't match our current goals and realities. Worth noting that between the 2012 Burtonsville Crossing Neighborhood Plan and the recent Fairland Briggs Cheney Plan, a lot of that 1997 Fairland Plan has been updated, but not the overlay area. So definitely room for improvement there. Obviously, there would be budget challenges with adding another minor master plan amendment to the work plan, but I wanted to put it on the radar. Note also that with Burtonsville Crossing and all the additional activity that's going to bring, it's really ripe opportunity, and we're losing out on some opportunities right now, as you're hearing. I don't know if you have a comment that you want to share on that. Don't want to put you on the spot. Just wanted to flag it.
No, obviously I can't commit yet to when we could get that into it, but it's certainly something that is on our radar, and we agree with a lot of the comments you've made about the need to take a look at that again. So
great, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and especially I will say that as we go through this strategic planning effort, part of that is to say, what do we want to be doing over the next 5 years? And so we'll be able to kind of outline and identify where a project like that might fit into our plan too.
Sounds good. And then tangentially, as you also know, this conversation about the Burtonsville overlay zone led to some conversations about the EOF zone, the employment office zone. Yes, you're anticipating what I'm going to say. Just generally, obviously, things have changed a lot. Even then, especially in the last, 5 years or so, modernizing those types of zones, that's something that we're seeing other jurisdictions starting to look at around now. So it would be great for us to be, getting in on that action as well. And I know as we talked that there is interest in planning at looking at that as a part of kind of a broader review of similar zones. Do you want to speak to that interest at all?
Pretty much the same response.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It's on our radar too. It's something that we'll certainly look at. Part of that also comes into play with the incentive zoning. So there are a number of different pieces there that we can be looking at.
Great. Appreciate it. For parks, I wanted to give a big shout out about Hillendale Park. Of course, I was there at the ribbon cutting, but I've been there many times since. It has become a household favorite, and already starting to see, some of the same people as well as new people. It's always hopping there, and I just love seeing the diversity that is there in all. I mean, including like age diversity. I mean, I looked around my very first time going, just with my family, and there was a guy who I want to say, middle-aged fellow on a work call, looked like he was there maybe from a construction site and on a work call, and he was pacing around the stumps. Yeah, just kind of on this work call, talking. And then I look over, and on the accessible kind of sidewalk, there was an elderly gentleman going around with his walker. And then, of course, in between, all the kids, running here and there, parents with stroll. It just is just beautiful job. Thank you so much. Really, really grateful to the work there. Also, big fan of the fact that there are bathrooms, gender-neutral bathrooms. It means that families and other folks can stay there for longer periods of time. So just really, really tremendous. And the community is loving it. Also want to appreciate the department's ongoing work with the Spring Song Museum endeavor. I know that it is complicated and complex, multi-agency coordination. The site has complications. Just wanted to appreciate the ongoing work there, which I know is strenuous, but it is very much appreciated. And then lastly, on the skate park topic, absolutely appreciate Councilmember Albornoz's point about the importance of ensuring that our amenities match community interests and thinking very carefully about how we're going to best serve our youth. Definitely something that is extremely important to the whole council. Also wanted to highlight that in this case with the Fairland skate park, that is generated from significant community requests for that for there to be a skate park in the area, and so that's why I've continued to raise it over the last year, and wanted to really recognize the District 14 state team for their work to secure us a bond bill to make this possible. So we're very hopeful about the progress with that. And their partnership on this effort, along with Parks' willingness and ability to be responsive and agile and hopefully get a good result here, means that we are hopefully very likely on the cusp of being able to bring this community request to fruition. So really appreciate the responsiveness and agility there, and also a big shout out to the District 14 team, which continues to work to bring home the bacon for East County. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Here to our state colleagues for bringing home the bacon. They really have, in particular to the Parks Department. I've worked very closely with them over the last several years, and in fact have been in touch all day with our chair of the Capital Budget Subcommittee, Craig Zucker, Senator District 14, who is continuing to work on that as we speak. So shout out to them and appreciate that. Glad you brought up Spring Song, which Director Figueredo and I were speaking about earlier, which I had the privilege of visiting recently in your district, which is a tremendous asset, which we hope to actualize. And I believe we both made the picture from the Hillendale reopening, and I will say, I'm glad you mentioned the bathrooms. That was, as spectacular a park it is, one of the takeaways was how great the bathrooms are. And it sounds like a small thing, but actually for families, access to bathrooms for our youngest and our oldest residents, in particular for vulnerable residents who have special needs, in particular, for everybody who wants to spend quite a bit of time there. The access to bathrooms means you can stay a lot longer and enjoy much greater expansion of activities. So it really is an important part of activating that space. And what a beautiful November day that was to be able to celebrate that. We got one of the nicest days of the year, I think, for that. So I was pleased to be there and glad it was part of the presentation that you raised that. Okay, Council Member Sales.
All right. No, I think it was.
I was going to say you were on here and then you went off my monitor. So I'm going to start with Councilmember Balcom and then Councilmember Sales to close us out.
Thank you. You can tell how excited everybody was about this because I pressed my button as soon as you stopped talking, but everyone else had beat me to pressing my button. So thank you. It really is an exciting presentation from both sides, from the planning department of everything that's happening and all the plans, and then from the Parks Department. We really have such a rich amenities with our parks, and I appreciate everything that you do, and I'm thrilled that you're here in this capacity, so thank you. I do want to just mention a couple parks, and I want to say I appreciate my friend recognizing that people over 55 can ride bikes. So I appreciate that fact. So thank you, Mallie. Yeah, thank you. But from the Ovid Hazen Wells, we're very excited about that coming online, both with the skate park and the carousel. I've been hearing about this carousel for so long, and people ask me just out of the blue what's happening with the carousel. So I appreciate that, and I look forward to that happening. And the Broad Run Park, that's a park that I wasn't familiar with, and I look forward to seeing what happens there. And of course, the recognition to Royce Hansen is fantastic, particularly in that location. So I think that's really great, and I look forward to that. From the planning perspective, I'm thrilled with the signage, the QR code. Can't tell you how many times I drive up to a sign and try to take the picture and make sure I know what it is. And I'm sure we've all had that experience of driving by one of those signs. And it really is the first time that the community understands that something is happening there, and that's low-hanging fruit. I think it's going to be from a transparency perspective with the community, it's one of those small things that I think is going to have a great impact in dealing with with the community. So appreciate that. Huge shout out to planning staff. I have Patrick Butler's phone on speed dial, and he always takes the call. So I appreciate that, and all the planning staff and park staff. I think they're very responsive, and I appreciate that. So specific issues, the Great Seneca Science Corridor, even though that's not my district, it's just one step away, and so I appreciate that. I'm very excited about that plan and what could happen in that area. I think that it could be just something really exciting, so thank you. And of course the Clarksburg Gateway Plan, appreciate the partnership there and keeping our office involved and engaged. So that leaves Germantown, the status of the Germantown study, and the question of why a study and not a plan. And I understand that the study can go much faster, and we do have properties that really need to look at the zoning, but the town sector, Germantown town center, town sector area just needs a major look at. And so can you just talk about that decision? And I know that Ms. Podum brought it up during the planning board session. So can you just talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I would say that we've done this a number of, so we did the urban design study in Friendship Heights, and now we have in our FY25 request a Friendship Heights sector plan update. And so it provides us with an opportunity to maybe refine and define a pretty narrow scope of an amendment that may be needed, and then we can come in with a relatively quicker master plan, sector plan update. So, I think that, we look at this and we say we're probably going to go down that path, but we want to see where the study kind of guides us first.
So in the study, you expect the study to be done?
So, yeah, so in that chart that you saw, there's a slight delay there of 1 month, and that was really just to adjust when we bring, we try not to bring two plans or things to the council at the same exact time, so that was an adjustment there. We've just started on that. Let me see if I can real quickly see what our expected timeline is for that. Takes a second to find it on this chart. November. Okay, thank you, Ms. Dunn. November is when we would expect to be. Oh, thank you. November, bringing it to the council.
Okay, and then so when would the decision be made as to when a full master plan would be reviewed?
So that could even be part of that process, and so around that time we should have a clear vision in terms of our strategic planning effort, and we could see where that could even fit in from our end. But it's not part of our FY25 request right now.
Right.
But when we come back to you in October with our next semi-annual, there could also be at that time maybe the council could decide to put that on our work program at that time.
Yeah, I think that there's a momentum that happens when you engage the community. So if we could do that, if it's called for, which I think it is, but you're the you're the experts, right? But if it is, I think that if there's a momentum with community engagement to go into a master plan, that would be great.
Sure, and this definitely helps us, go into a master plan update like that. But we're already running, right? So we're not starting from zero at that point.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Sorry about that. You clicked your button so quickly that it took you out of the queue. Councilmember Sales to close us out.
All right. Thank you so much. It's great to see the melding of all of the new leaders here at the Planning Commission, to see how much progress has been made across the county is a beautiful sight to see. And coming from the Nature Conservancy, where we're focused on connecting more people with nature, this is exactly what these placemaking initiatives are going to bring. I'm glad to see the highlights on the missing middle housing as well. I'm really glad to see that the planning board is also working on the removal of the Confederate monuments as well. I know we talked a bit about some historical markers a while back, and so look forward to revisiting that conversation to see how we can be more intentional around the county to commemorate some of the historical events that we're proud of. I too am glad to see the Silver Spring Park named after Dr. Hansen. So glad to see the connections with the planning board in Annapolis throughout session. You all have been so active and present. I'm so glad to see you are focusing on getting resources back here to the county. I also wanted to ask about the I know we've talked about a few different activities. Someone asked me about cricket. We don't have any cricket fields, and I was in Germantown. Well, up county? Yeah. Yes. So I was wondering if we had any additional places where cricket has been emphasized. Where are we doing anything more?
Yeah, so we have one up there, and we're adding another one next to it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a timeline on when that's coming?
But I can get that for you.
Thank you. It's good to hear. It's expanding. I'm also glad to see the Reforest Montgomery program. That is so good to see, especially with our schools and the investments that we're making to ensure that we are taking care of our tree canopy. So this is all good work coming out of the Planning Commission and things that we can be proud of no matter where you live in the county. So coming from the tree city of Gaithersburg, and we all live within less than a half a mile from a park, it's great to see the investments in public spaces. So thank you so much for the mid-year report. I can't believe this is mid-year. This seems like so much has been going on since Thrive has launched. You all should just be incredibly proud of the work you're doing and very proud to be a part of this. Keep it up. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Well, that is all the colleagues we have in the queue. Just want to express appreciation again to our two new directors for your presentation here. To the planning board members, we have a quorum of the planning board, and I know others who have joined us virtually as well, and want to thank Ms. Dunn for all of her work in partnership with the parks and the planning departments and your work before this council, before our committee, and thank you to everybody for all of your service. I'll end where I started with my appreciation for the staff. It really is your efforts that is the reason why residents are so pleased to go to our parks every day, and why we have so many beautiful buildings and great communities that are thriving in so many ways. And we want to be here to support you in every way that we can, and look forward to continuing our work. We've got a lot of work ahead of us with both the capital budget and the operating budget, and some challenges ahead to make sure that you can continue the work that you do. And so stay tuned, and we'll continue to do that work. And with that, with thanks for this great semi-annual, colleagues, we are adjourned until 6:30, where we will be meeting with the Montgomery County chapter of the Maryland Municipal League in the 4th floor. So we're adjourned until 6:30, and thank you everybody for joining us for a great day here at the County Council.